Man, I hate when people do that. Is anything more annoying than when you do that shit and it's something like, remember they say back every word you say? Kill someone for that. Well, I was wrong. I am back today, filling in for Josh Engelman. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive. We're back, baby. Running it back once again. Myself, Dave Loughran, and Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Follow me at Lafayette_D. Today's show, No House Advantage. I'm not feeling good today. Dude, I know. What's that? Oh, that's how you know. Presented by BetMGM. I'm along with Adam Scherer. Ben Rossa and I did the show this morning. It was just a good show, but powered through it. You weren't feeling well yesterday. You're not. It's that time of year, man.
Yeah. I was saying to you, like, I always feel like I get a cold or I get sick when the weather changes, but like this year, the weather's just been changing every 3 days. And so it keeps coming back. But yeah, doesn't seem like anybody's feeling too well right now.
I don't think anyone. Yeah, I don't think there's a single person that feels great right now, but that's okay. We got 5 games to talk about. Very happy to have you guys with us, as always. As you walk in the door, do us one courtesy. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I think we got to 600 yesterday without having to use our ace in the hole, without having to go to Adam Scherer to ask you guys for likes. We got there. So hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Make it so you have to hear less of me straight out of the gate. Anyway, how you feeling today, man? Outside of not great. Like, how's your day?
Not real good, but
how's your day going?
Yeah, no, it's going well. I'm looking forward to the slate. I like when we get these weeks where we have, like, 9 games yesterday, 5 games today. It beats talking about 2 and 3 game slates on a Tuesday.
There was one season, I think you and I talked about this before. There was probably 1 or 2 seasons where the NBA really figured things out. And then, of course, they're like, we don't want to do this anymore. Let's do some 13 gamers and some 2. You remember the year, though, where every single day was between like 5 and 9, 5 and 10 games, and it was a beautiful thing. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah, and they announced that they were gonna go with the more balanced schedule, and I never heard them announce they were getting rid of it. It just kind of disappeared.
Was it pre-COVID? Was it the year?
It was before COVID.
Yeah, I think it was pre-COVID. Then COVID happened, and then we had really the best season ever was the one that started. Was it right before Christmas? Remember, you had the bubble season, and then we had the delayed season.
Yeah. It might have started like on Christmas.
I think it was right the 23rd.
Yeah, I'll say it was right in that time frame.
Yeah, I think it was the 20th. Either way, it was sweet because you had that, and then that ran through like part of the dog days of summer where all you have is baseball. And I think Josh and I were talking about the finals in like August or late July or something, but that's okay. Anyway, we got 5 games to talk about now. I would assume that we're still going to get some news that like comes out of nowhere. Russell Westbrook being an example of that yesterday. What did you do as that happened yesterday, given that we were well after lock?
So I ended up swapping stuff around. I lost a good amount of Thomas Bryant, turned it into Dennis Schroeder, and then turned what was Thomas Bryant into like De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, depending how much money I could find. So yeah, kind of just switched it around where I had been going mid-range guard. Chris Paul also, had been going like with those mid-range guards. Then I ended up switching that to utility and just getting more Schroeder. So it actually worked out well for me because I got to more Lonnie Walker also. Ended up actually being a pretty decent slate.
Nice. All right. Well, let's try and run it back. Look, we have a lot of news. There's a few pieces that we're still waiting on, but I mean, you can speak to this before we get to the game if there's anything you're paying close attention to. But Kyle Lowry, we already know him. Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent out. I'm just going by team here. Olynyk and Sexton out. We'll get to them first. Curry, Wiggins, DiVincenzo, Green out for Golden State. I think the Porzingis news with him not participating in shoot around with an illness is pretty significant. So we'll pay attention to that. But then with Phoenix, like Devin Booker, Cameron Payne, Okogie, Land, all of those guys are out as well. So as it stands right now, we're still waiting on a little bit from Denver, even though Porter's doubtful. Is there anything other than like Porzingis has to be the biggest piece right now?
I had actually missed that coming through, so glad you mentioned it. I refreshed.
Well, it was reported early today, that he didn't participate in shoot around, and then he was officially questionable. But I mean, it seems like a good possibility he just doesn't play at all.
Yeah, and I mean, if he doesn't, then obviously you're likely to get Daniel Gafford value again, which would open up a lot of stuff. But um, we're not waiting on a ton. When I did the injury report video today, it was basically just Nuggets news and Suns news. And the Suns news wasn't because they had listed guys as questionable. We just didn't have an injury report yet. But now we've gotten that. And we've also gotten word that Jamal Murray is likely to play, even though he's listed as questionable. So you have Jeff Green and KCP as questionable for the Nuggets. You have Porzingis questionable for the Wizards. Outside of that, not a ton. We did also get Jimmy Butler downgraded. He's questionable now. I'm sure Greg is having a good time with that. But yeah, other than that, we're not waiting on a lot of Q tags at the moment.
Not at all. And sorry about that, guys. Yes, JaMychal Green, not Draymond Green. I was just reading through these. Should have put the pieces together. No, not Draymond Green. Chat just went wild on that. Let's kick it off with Utah and Detroit. So again, with Utah, we already know that Kelly Olynyk and Sexton are going to be out of this one. So it starts with a pretty obvious one here, pulling a good amount of ownership already. Mike Conley. I mean, at this point, looking at no Olynyk and Sexton, Mike Conley's $5,300. He's not someone that you're going to have come in and just play like immense minutes guaranteed every night. But is he a guy at this point against the Detroit team too, that you feel decent about given his limitation in playing time, although albeit really cheap price point?
Yeah, and because I don't think it's a true limitation in playing time either. Like, I think if this game's competitive, you're getting about 30 minutes from Conley.
Yeah, that's why I said not consistently, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, we've just seen some games where like he plays 28 minutes, but it's also a blowout. He's been playing 15, 16 minutes in the first half typically. I think if this game's competitive, you're likely to get around 30. He's not a great point per minute guy, but he's not bad either. 0.9 DraftKings points per minute for the season. Good matchup against Detroit. Not a high usage guy, but does do a good job in terms of assists. He just grades out right now as somebody that's really, really easy to get into lineups and really useful because you do have a couple of quality pay up options tonight with John Morant and Nikola Jokic. You also have a few other spots that, not as expensive as those guys, but that also look good. So Conley just opens up a lot of stuff and grades out as a good point per dollar option.
What about Clarkson in a spot like this? And we're going to get to several other guys in this price range that I think will make sense, but you got him north of 7K around in this spot specifically around the fantasy point per minute producer on the season as well. So I'm not sure there's too much change with Olynyk and Sexton being out of the lineup as far as his production goes, though.
As far as Clarkson, it shouldn't. Olynyk's not a super high usage guy. He's one of those guys that kind of does everything relatively well when he's on the floor, but taking him out doesn't necessarily open up a ton of assist opportunities. You still have Mike Conley out there. It doesn't open up a ton of usage or additional usage. You still have Lauri Markkanen out there. So Clarkson, I think, is still kind of just what he has been for most of the year. He should play a lot of minutes, though, likely to give you 34 to 36 minutes. He's only 7,100 on DraftKings, pulling 12% ownership, 11% chance of being optimal. There's a lot of guys like this on this slate that are just pulling like 10 to 15% ownership, look like good plays, but are difficult to separate from each other. And I think Clarkson's one of those. You certainly can get a big game from him, but he doesn't stand out as one of the more underpriced guys. He's kind of just not overpriced, not underpriced, just kind of where he should be, I think.
All right, and let me ask you about Beasley too, because look, we have a pretty good idea at this point of what type of player Malik Beasley is. He's going to rip off a ton of shots. It's just if he doesn't hit them, you probably aren't getting much production from. Listen, he's attempted. You look over the guy's last 6 games. He's getting up double-digit 3-point attempts in almost every. He's averaging double-digit 3-point attempts over his last 7. And now you would think that he sees decent enough minutes, like you said, if this game stays competitive. 5,500 though, he's more expensive than Conley in this spot, and he is a very point or scoring reliant or scoring dependent guy there at the shooting guard small forward position.
Yeah, I think Beasley's kind of interesting here. I mentioned him in my tournament plays videos earlier, and I said it then, and I still think it's the case. Right now, we have Beasley pulling like 12% ownership with a 24% chance of being optimal. I don't think that gap remains. I think the optimal percentage on Beasley is just too high, but I still think Beasley is a reasonable play here. He played 15 and a half minutes in the first half yesterday. That game blew out, so you didn't get to see a closing lineup, but I think pretty often you're going to see Beasley close over either Vanderbilt or Kessler. If Utah's playing with a considerable lead, I think there's a decent chance they stick with the Vanderbilt plus Kessler lineup. But if the game's competitive, I think it's likely that you see Beasley close. He closed the first half last game. Didn't close obviously in the blowout, but I think it's likely you get around 30 minutes from Beasley. That still makes him look like a pretty neutral play, though. It doesn't look like somebody that's going to be in the optimal lineup, 25% of the time to me. But it is just another interesting, relatively inexpensive value option. On a related note, though, I am higher on Kessler and Vanderbilt than we are right now, assuming we get the same starting lineup that we got yesterday. The lineup yesterday surprised me because Vanderbilt and Kessler hadn't played more than a minute alongside each other all season long, but they went with that big front court against Cleveland, and then now you're going up against the Detroit front court of Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren. I think there's a good chance that you see Kessler and Vanderbilt start again, in which case it's likely that you're getting around 25, 26 minutes from Kessler. You're probably getting 27, 28 minutes from Vanderbilt. Makes them both look pretty good at their respective salaries.
What about Markkanen at 8K?
I think he's just very similar to Clarkson. He should play 34 to 36 minutes. He's about a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. He's just priced about where he should be. I do think the 8% ownership coming into him is probably a little bit low. We have him with an 11% chance of being optimal, but I think he's another one that's more or less correctly priced.
Anybody else for Utah here?
No, I don't think so. It's to me, so assuming it's the same starting lineup as yesterday, my interest is pretty much in the 5 starters plus Malik Beasley.
All right. You mentioned Jalen Duren. Let's talk about him on the other side of this one. There's a lot of like 5K guys getting a lot of love today that look good in the boom bust tool. No real like dirt cheap options. Jalen Duren's one of these guys that is going to be pretty popular. $4,800 at center only eligibility. What do you make of him today?
I think he looks like one of the better values. The scary part for Duren is I think there is sort of a tendency to feel a little bit too comfortable with him just because since he moved into the starting lineup, he has played really well. He's been rebounding at an absurd clip through these 5 games. He has like a 26% rebounding percentage compared to about 19 to 20% overall this season. So it is likely that you see that come back down to earth a little bit. But at the same time, this is a rookie. It is reasonable to think that he's just also improving as the year has gone on. And overall, he still has averaged 0.88 DraftKings points per minute this season. You also, if you just look at his average playing time as a starter, it's going to skew a little bit high because we had the game where Marvin Bagley got hurt in the first half. So Duren played a ton in the second half. But on average, I think you're likely to get around 28 minutes from Duren, around 20 from Bagley as his backup. And at this price tag, it's just going to make him look like a good option. So pretty easy to get to and pretty appealing option. I do think, on the other side of this game, right now we have Walker Kessler for $200 more projected for 8% ownership compared to 20 for Duren. I think that's an interesting pivot in tournaments, but I do think Duren's going to project a little bit better.
Super low usage guy, but like you said, great rebounder. And one thing you like to see too is that he's a good offensive rebounder too. He can pull down offensive boards, which is pretty helpful in a spot like this. But and essentially, what are you hoping for out of Duren? Like a 10-13 game, right?
Yeah, pretty much, get some putbacks. But so like right now, I have him projected for 9 and 12.
Okay. I mean, it's not that bad of a matchup against this Utah team though either.
No, not at all.
Two of the worst defenses in the league to be exact, but
yeah. And I mean, a 229 total as well reflects it should be a relatively fast paced game. That means more shot volume, which means more missed shots and rebounds for Duren.
What else do you want to get to with this Detroit squad from Ivy to Burks to Stewart? Bojan Bogdanovic is a guy that I know Eric Lindquist has been hammering the over on that points prop in our Odd Shopper Premium Insider Access Discord, and that's been hitting like crazy. Anybody here that stands out today? Because it is only a 5-game slate. We'll get a little bit more into the weeds than we usually do on these bigger slates.
Yeah, I mean, I think Duren's the one that stands out the most, but the rest, this is another team where the rest of the starters pretty much look good. Jaden Ivey, Boyan Bogdanovic, Isaiah Stewart, all pulling 12 to 17% ownership on DraftKings. Ivey's price tag has really plummeted, and his playing time has come down as well, which obviously doesn't help. But you should still get 26 to 28 minutes from Ivey. He's around the fantasy point per minute guy in the games without Cade Cunningham. So I like getting to him since the price tag's fallen. He's an inefficient scorer, but you're still going to get games where he scores at an above average rate, and he's just going to look really good in those games. Isaiah Stewart should play around 28 minutes at 5,400 with power forward eligibility. Bogdanovic is actually a little bit cheaper, I believe, on FanDuel than DraftKings, but he's going to look good on both sites, about a fantasy point per minute guy without Cunningham. The only issue is that he's still playing like 30 to 31 minutes. So it's tough to feel comfortable. It's tough to feel too comfortable with anyone from Detroit just because they're running a 10-man rotation where everybody has a true backup, and it just makes it really difficult for anybody to get those 34 35-minute games, but they're not priced for those games either. As far as the second unit goes, we do have ownership coming into Alec Burks, which seems a little bit high to me at 13%. He's likely to play 20 to 22 minutes. He's capable of scoring and rebounding and giving you a decent game, but it does seem like a little bit more ownership than he probably should get. There are some similar looking guys on this slate. One pivot that I think is interesting is Marvin Bagley. He's 4,100, so he's $700 less than Duren. Like I said, on average, I think you're getting 28 minutes from Duren, 20 from Bagley. But if Duren did get in foul trouble, Bagley's the guy that immediately is going to soak up those minutes, and he's getting 1/7 the ownership. So I would definitely set a rule not to have them together. But I think Bagley is an interesting leverage option in your larger field tournaments.
All right, let's move on. Chicago and Miami. Chicago, one of the few actually healthy teams on this slate, all things considered. But we run into the same question, and pricing is a little bit different, right? They're all not just lumped together at this point, but like from just a fantasy point per minute perspective, Adam, going up against this Miami team in what is this, a 222 total? I think it is. It says 222 or did I move? I think, yeah, 222, 4-point spread. You have DeRozan, 1.17 fantasy points per minute. You have Vooch at 1.11. You have Levine at 1.07. Is there any clear differentiator between the three, be it just positional availability or anybody you like better in this specific matchup, if you like any of them a ton at all?
No, I don't really think so. This is another team where it's just really tough for me to say like, oh, like out of the 5 starters, this guy clearly looks the best. All 5 of them are pulling more than 12% ownership. None are pulling more than DeRozan's 20%.
Yep.
And it just reflects that they're all pretty much correctly priced. There are a bunch of guys that if this were a 10-game slate, you would kind of just be glossing over them and saying, obviously Levine or DeRozan can have a big game, but they're just going to be like 4 or 5% owned because they're correctly priced and you can move on. With it being a 5-gamer, that ownership is just naturally going to be higher. But they're pretty much, I think, correctly priced, correctly owned. Levine does have the most favorable positional eligibility on DraftKings with shooting guard, small forward for the season. Like you said, 1.07 DraftKings points per minute for Levine, 1.1 for Vooch, 1.17 for DeRozan, and they're pretty much priced in that order. Vooch has the higher opportunity cost to go along with him. So all 3 of those guys you can feel pretty good about getting to. And then the other 2 starters, Alex Caruso and Patrick Williams, you're not going to feel good at all because neither one's a very good fantasy producer. Patrick Williams at 0.7 fantasy points per minute for the season. So is Caruso, but you're likely to get about 28 minutes from Caruso. You're likely to get 30-ish from Patrick Williams. They're cheap enough where it's just going to open up some stuff. It's going to allow you to get to Jokic. It's going to allow you to get to Morant. So it's kind of just like a necessary evil. Right now, we don't have a ton of good cheap value. So your options are pretty much either suck it up and play guys like Alex Caruso and Patrick Williams, or go more balanced and miss out on, guys like Jokic and Morant that project clearly better than everybody else on the slate.
And speaking to your earlier point, like all 3 of those guys up top, if you get to them, you get to them. But it's also just to add another wrinkle, despite some of the absences that they have today, Miami still, plays at a crawling pace. They're still a top 7 defense. So it's not like you're trying to pick between 3 of these top 7K plus guys in a mouth-watering matchup either.
Right. Yeah. It's not a great matchup either.
Anybody else for Chicago, or should we move over to Miami then?
I don't think so. We are waiting on Javonte Green news. I don't think it matters a lot. I had said this morning that this is like this is a slate where if I knew for sure Andre Drummond was going to get the backup center minutes, I'd be interested in playing him at no ownership. But after playing 0 minutes last game and then now going up against the stretch five in Dwayne Dedmon, I'm not very confident he plays here. If Javonte Green is in, I'm even less confident that Drummond plays because it makes it even easier to just give minutes to Javonte Green and Jones. So again, like I'm not planning on going that route with Drummond right now. I have Green projected in, and I didn't project minutes to Drummond. If you really want to gamble, it can pay off nicely. I know I did it a few slates ago when they were playing Atlanta. I thought Drummond would for sure be playing against the Kongwu, got him at like 0.5% owned, and he went nuts, and it worked out really well. You just have to realize that there's a legit chance he's putting up a 0 here.
What was the stat of like Jimmy Butler percentage of times he played when he was questionable? Do you remember that?
I have no idea.
Do you remember? You don't remember someone? Maybe it was Josh that was telling me about that.
I think Basketball Monster used to list it. They might still, but I don't know what the percentage was.
I can't remember if it was really high or low. Someone in chat probably knows. Either way, Jimmy Butler downgraded to questionable with a gastrointestinal illness. Now, we all know that's not very fun. The fact is that he was probable with knee soreness, and now he's questionable with an entirely unrelated ailment. So it seems like, given that this news just dropped, like an hour ago, Adam, it seems pretty likely. Oh, well, no, not likely, but it definitely seems possible that if this news is coming out on the injury report this late in the day, this is one of those situations where we need to monitor really closely because Jimmy Butler's absence can make a heck of a difference, especially considering you're already missing Kyle Lowry in this game. To a lesser extent, though, Caleb Martin. This could shake a lot of things up if Jimmy Butler ends up sitting because he's shitting.
Yeah, like you said, they are already shorthanded. Caleb Martin's out. Kyle
Vincent's
Lowry's
still
out.
Not back.
What?
Vincent's still not back.
Yeah, Vincent's not back. We had Oladipo play a ton of minutes last game. I already think he's going to play upper 20s, maybe 30 here. If you take Butler out, that's just opening up a ton of minutes. Duncan Robinson would probably play more. Haywood Highsmith would play more. You probably have Nikola Jovic play more. He started the last game, but he opened the game. He opened the second half, only played about 14 minutes. If Butler's out, it's likely that you get more minutes from Jovic because you have to have other people soak up those Jimmy Butler minutes as well.
If he's out, do you think we would begin to see the best value from the slate go to Miami?
At least at the moment, yeah. Because
like let's say he gets ruled out and then we don't have any other information at the time for any other game.
Right. So like if you get Butler ruled out, and so let's say that they still start Jovic like they did last game. So let's say Butler is ruled out and you get a starting lineup of Hero, Strus, Jovic, Adebayo, and whoever else. It could be Oladipo, it could be Highsmith, it could be Robinson. If you get that in that situation, I think it's likely you're getting like 24 minutes from Jovic at 3,200, which would start to be pretty appealing. You're probably getting, mid 20s at least in minutes from Highsmith and Robinson, who neither one's a good fantasy producer point per minute, but they're cheap enough where they're going to look better. Oladipo, not really that cheap, but would probably play north of 30 in that situation as well. So certainly would open up some value. And then it also just bumps the production for Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo.
Jordan Klein producing the show said, must have had Chipotle last night. You're still scarred over that, aren't you? A week. You're willing. What do you get? What are you getting from there that turns you into a monster?
Dude, I got that new garlic steak there. I don't know if you've had that.
No.
It was pretty okay going in.
Sounds good.
Yeah, not too great going out.
I get the steak burrito, double the steak, as they say, double the protein, just to make it sound healthier. I don't make it all that healthy. Adam, what do you get from Chipotle if you get it delivered to your house, which is what I know you do?
Yeah. So I don't do double because I'm not standing there, so I assume it's just gonna end up being single anyway. But normally either a burrito or burrito bowl with steak or chicken, and a bunch of other stuff.
So the usual.
Yeah.
I'm not a guac guy though, so I don't do the
like
chip. Yeah. Not a guac guy. Let's say Butler plays. Because, what a difference this is going to make. If you got, the highest priced guy, the best player on your team, either being out or then he's active. If he plays, then you start to look at a Miami team, despite the fact that Lowry's out and that Caleb Martin's out, it still doesn't look that great on paper.
Yeah, if Butler's in, it just, I don't know. It's the prices have adjusted is the problem. Butler, Adebayo, Hero, they all still look pretty good. Like, you're getting a ton of minutes from Hero. Butler, if he's in, should play 34 to 35. You should get around 35, 36 from Bam. They're all good point per minute guys, and it's a pretty appealing matchup against Chicago. But the salaries have just all risen. And on this slate, you just have some other guys in their price ranges that are going to look a little bit better. After those three, you have Oladipo coming in a little below 5K. Right now, with the way value looks, that does still get him into some lineups. He's been about a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy this year. He's likely to play around 30 minutes. As more value opens up, Oladipo would drop off a bit. Same can be said for Max Strus. But yeah, if Butler's in, it certainly cuts back what I want from the rest of the team.
And Chad, I don't do guac because I have a mild allergy to it. My feet blow up. Pop the seams off my Nikes. No, my throat starts to itch and it's uncomfortable. Same with apples, unless they're cooked. Yeah, how about that? Unless they're, I don't know. There's some type of protein that if it's baked, it breaks down and then you can eat it. But like apples, if I were to just bite into an apple, I'd get a weird allergy to it. It's kind of weird. I don't know. That's the only allergy I have, and it's not bad. I'm lucky in that sense. Although once I had a pomegranate like mixed drink out at this restaurant, I already have huge lips as it is, and I go to take a sip. My lips were like, it was absurd, man. And it was so pomegranate too. But my filler arc with a super chat, Adam, I'll throw this to you. Any better forward than Strus, 5K or under on DraftKings?
I would hope so. 5K or under better than Strus?
Yeah, 5K or under better than Max Strus on DraftKings.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's more so that there's guys that look close, but Quentin Grimes, I think, looks a little bit better, but I think they're very, very comparable. Damian Lee, Patrick Williams are comparable when you factor in the salary. But yeah, it's kind of just a pretty ugly position right now.
Anything else for Miami? Or you want to talk Golden State and the New York Knicks? This will get fun.
Yeah, I think we can go to the mess that's going to be Golden State.
All right, easy, pal. Gordon Powell, but easy, pal. You gotta be careful what you're saying. Come on, we don't take that direction when we're talking about that. All right, Golden State and New York Knicks. By the way, we're talking about the optimal lineup score, the leverage scores, ownership, player. What, did you just see his comment?
Yeah.
Player projections, all that stuff. If you guys want 3 free days of all of this, no strings attached, the link's right there. Jordan, throw the link in. Wawa is not trash, Ryan. Get the fuck out of here. The link is right there in chat or in the link or in the description. All of our tools, the lineup generator too, which is super sick. I know Alex Baker, Awesemo, has been doing some videos with the lineup generator and the lineup builder. You can check all that out, but 3 days entirely free. Unlike football, where you should be waiting till Saturday to do it, because this week you're getting Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You get to take full advantage of all of that. With basketball, you're golden. You get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, perfect, going straight into Friday where there's no game. So catch Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday basketball, some big slates. And if you like it, stick around. If not, we'll gladly refund your misery, which is $0. So we'd love to have you guys check it out. Join the family. If you don't like it, no big deal. But check out all our tools, entirely free for the first 3 days. That's why we do it, so you guys can get a look before you dive in. Links in the description and in the chat. All right. Golden State Warriors. Let me catch my breath to run down the laundry list of inactives today. Steph Curry, obviously, Andrew Wiggins, Dante DiVincenzo, and then JaMychal, not Draymond, but JaMychal Green. So I think we have to start with Jordan Poole here. Just looking at, his assist rate doesn't climb dramatically in a spot like this. At least it hasn't been the case, but the usage has been pretty spectacular, Adam, and he's facing this Knicks team. Should be a good game.
Jimmy Butler now doubtful for the Heat.
Ooh, all right.
And
All right, hold on. Let me since it's a 5-game slate, let me just go back real quick and just get your priority plays now. We'll get an ownership update momentarily. But from Miami, now that we know that he's unlikely to play, what would your priority plays be for Miami?
So, I mean, we still need to know what the starting lineup looks like, but assuming the lineup is Hero, Strus, Jovic, Adebayo, and then some fifth guy. I think Jovic at 3,200 is pretty interesting. I think it's likely he plays mid-20s in minutes. He's been a 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy. He can get replaced pretty quickly as better value opens up, but at 3,200, I do think that looks interesting. Hero and Bam both look better. 1.2 DraftKings points per minute for both guys without Butler on the floor this year. Max Strus looks a lot better now. Just should play more minutes. I had him in for 32 minutes. I think it's likely you get a few more. And then it's just going to open up minutes for Oladipo. It opens up value for it opens up minutes for Robinson and Highsmith as cheaper value as well. So as far as the priorities go, it still depends on the starting lineup. And I haven't reprojected everybody yet, obviously. So kind of speaking generally, but I think it's clearly a bump in production for Hero and Bam, and then a bump in playing time for whoever the rest of the starters are.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about Golden State here. Missing two of the big dogs today in Curry and Wiggins. I mean, like I said, I think starting with Jordan Poole probably makes the most sense. We can make our way down. He's played he's played 343 minutes without Curry and Wiggins on the floor this year. He's got a 35% usage rate in those minutes that he's played. I'm sure you have the numbers of his usage in the actual games, the amount of games that he's played without them, but he's just chalking out there.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy how he actually has a higher usage rate alongside Clay than Curry does. You know, we were talking about it on the show this morning, and I think there's like a tendency for people to think that with Steph out, you're going to see this big bump in usage for Clay. And I think Steph being out maybe makes it a little bit more likely that you get the huge Clay game here and there, just because Poole's less likely to get hot like Steph does. But you actually have a higher usage guy in Jordan Poole than Steph Curry, at least with the way that he's played so far without Steph on the floor.
That is crazy.
Yeah, like
I wonder if it's just because Steph's more willing to move the ball around and more willing to pass.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Like he's a better passer is what I meant. Yeah.
Poole without Curry on the floor this year has like a 34.5% usage rate. If you say, oh, well, what if you put Clay on? The usage rate actually jumps so far to 36.5%. In the 3 full games that Poole has played without Curry and with Clay, he has a 35.5% usage rate. I do think you see that number come back to earth a little bit. You know, I don't think that you just, if you were to play 100 games where Clay is in and Steph is out, I don't think you see Poole continue to just run 34 to 36% usage, but I do think he's going to be north of 30%, and he's just going to look like a good option in this price range because he is playing big minutes. He is going to go out there and chuck. And then you look at, the rest of the guys, you look at Clay, he's still a reasonable option because he's playing so many minutes now. You're getting 36 minutes in competitive games from Clay. He's still a mid-20s usage rate guy, should settle in 25 to 27%. So he's still going to look good. It's just that you're not getting any sort of sizable bump in his usage because Jordan Poole's taking it all. Draymond is playing more minutes recently as well. JaMychal Green being out should certainly help that. DiVincenzo being out can have an impact there also. So I think you continue to see, mid-30s in minutes from Draymond. He's not getting any sort of bump without Curry on the floor, and that's not something you really expect to happen anyway. But just based on playing time and the fact there's not a lot of good forward plays on this slate, Draymond looks pretty good as well.
The problem with Clay without Curry and take Wiggins off too is that like you're seeing 23% usage in a spot like this, but he's still the same guy that if his shot isn't falling, Curry's absence, even with Curry's absence, he's not compensating for that with additional assist opportunities and additional rebounds. Like you still, no matter what, have to rely on scoring, which I think to your point is like, hey, if he gets hot, and then you need Klay Thompson. But in the same breath, like that could be Klay Thompson could get super hot and Curry just feeds him all game when he's on the floor too.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't listening.
I'm saying like Klay Thompson being out, I had a feeling that was coming. Or Curry's being out. Clay doesn't really benefit as a passer, as a rebound. Like he still needs to get hot from the field.
Yeah, and he doesn't, on average, he doesn't get that usage bump. Like if you get the game where Clay's just knocking down every 3, then sure, they're just going to get him the ball and he's going to keep taking
But I'm saying if Curry was on the floor, they'd have done the same thing.
Right. So it's just not a big difference for Clay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Clay's scorching hot, Curry's just going to feed him the ball beyond the arc.
Right. And
whether he's on,
Poole probably will too if you get that type of game.
I'm agreeing. I'm just saying. I'm saying that like the Curry being off doesn't. I'm just agreeing that it doesn't make nearly as much a difference as you would think because Clay being hot doesn't matter if it's Poole or Curry on the floor.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Poole basically is just taking the Curry usage.
Yeah. More of it.
Yeah. And then taking some more.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about for Golden State here with all these guys being out today?
So, I mean, we need to know the rest of the starting lineup. My guess is that you get Moses Moody starting in place of DiVincenzo. I have no idea. Like, Steve Kerr will switch that up constantly. If you get Moody starting at 3,300, I expect him to play around 28 minutes. He's not a good point per minute guy. He would project for around 17 fantasy points. Shooting guard, small forward at 3,300. Like, it opens some stuff up, but it's not a very exciting option. Kuminga at 4,900. If he's coming off the bench, I gave him 24 minutes. I don't really feel confident in that at all. We've seen his playing time, kind of moved all over the place, but there is a lot of volatility there because my expectation is that you see James Wiseman take JaMychal Green's minutes and play like 16, and then you get around 24 from Kuminga. If they were to run the rotation differently and just didn't give Wiseman minutes, you could get a lot of minutes from Kuminga. I just don't anticipate that being the case because Steve Kerr typically runs very deep rotations, kind of regardless of who's available. So my expectation is that you get the bodies that are missing replaced with somebody else. It makes Kuminga sort of not look very good, but also right now there's not a lot of good forward plays. So I could see getting to him a little bit in tournaments, but not feeling very good about it. Kevon Looney certainly can play more here as well, but being center only still isn't going to make him stand out.
On a 5-game slate, how come are you setting any limitations like 4 players per team? Are you setting any restrictions given the limited size of this slate? Not just with Golden State, but in general, given that we have probably, like, especially if Butler's out, we have 4 or 5 teams that have a real handful of players being absent today, starters.
Yeah, I'll probably, with it being a 5-game slate, I'll probably cap it at like 4 per team, but most likely just get like 3 or less.
Okay. We had another super chat from my filler arc. He just said, quote, he didn't want Kemba back. Still the best show ever. Yeah. Was that the line? I know he was talking about Kemba when you burped. I know you were talking about Tibbs. I don't remember the exact line though, but yeah, one of the greatest things ever. I need to tweet that out again, Jordan. If you still have that clip, we need to make that shit go viral. All right. Anything else with Golden State?
No. Just keep an eye on the starting lineup.
Yeah, we will.
If Kuminga were to start, you can project him for a lot of minutes. He typically plays a lot when he starts, but just no idea what they're going to do.
We are 229 likes away from 500. 28. Yesterday, I almost went to Adam and said, Adam, we're slack. We're in trouble here. Our ratio doesn't look good. And then we crushed that number. Let's run it back. Run it. But
Ryan Houston said, how do we not mention Ty Jerome? If you want me to mention,
I'm talking about likes here, man. It's more important.
I wasn't listening.
Hit that like button, get us to 500, and now we can talk about Ty Jerome. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to mention every guy that I've projected for like 16 to 18 minutes, it's going to be a long show.
Yeah, for sure. Who said that?
Ryan Houston.
Okay, Ryan, just hit that like button. All right, let's go to the Knicks side of the ball here. Ooh, all right, Jalen Brunson. 7,200. This is one of the guys I was alluding to when talking earlier about this price range, having a few options that we could discuss. He's 29% right now, but it's not just that. If you look at Brunson from an optimal percentage over in our boom bust tool, we got Brunson with the highest optimal percentage on the slate. Of course, this is before the Jimmy Butler news. I'm going to make sure to let you guys know immediately when all of our tools are updated, especially for you guys that just joined with the 3 free days. Want you to get the best out of this, and we'll update throughout the night before lock. But 35% optimal lineup percentage right now for Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, I think he looks really good here. You're getting a little bit of increased playing time from him with Derrick Rose out. He's averaged 33 minutes per game in those games. It's likely you get 33, 34 minutes here, as long as this game's competitive. It's a fast-paced Golden State team. Brunson's averaged 1.14 DraftKings points per minute this year. He's just underpriced here at 7,200 and pretty easy to get into lineups.
Okay. Dwayne Dedman available. Just making sure we got all the news here coming in. Sounds like FanDuel is down. See, guys, that's why we talk mostly DraftKings. All the, all the. Why don't you talk fan? That's why we don't. No, it's not. It's just very difficult to mix that in the best we can with two different sites. But as you put it, usually, Adam, like generally speaking, when it comes to DraftKings and FanDuel, it's mostly applicable. Like if there's a big price discrepancy, you'll usually always mention that. Otherwise, we're talking about good plays, good value, and usually it's not one for one, but it's usually pretty similar.
Yeah, it's if there's a glaring price discrepancy, I try and mention it, but yeah, it's the breakdown's going to be the same. If somebody is just clearly cheaper, then they're just obviously better.
It just doesn't make for a great show when you have to go back and forth like that. Although Josh seems to focus a lot more on FanDuel. He'll be back soon, I believe. Hopefully all of you wished him well with everything that he's dealing with. All right. Outside of Brunson, though, let's run down the list. I mean, you're playing against the skeleton crew of a Golden State Warriors team today. Not entirely, but a bunch of big guys absent from this one. And the Knicks coming into this one at the Garden, 221.5 total, 5.5 point favorites. Outside of Brunson, how much Barrett and Randall and Robinson and the bane of my existence, Emmanuel Quickly, are we looking to get to today?
I think Randall still looks good even at the rising price tag. He's up to 9,100 on DraftKings, but you're getting more playing time from him without Obi Toppin. You're back to those huge minutes that we got used to getting from Randall in previous seasons, playing 37, 38 minutes typically. He's been a good fantasy point per minute guy all season long, so that hasn't been the issue. It's just been that when Toppin's in, you were getting 33 to 34 minutes instead of 37, 38. But he's averaged 1.2 DraftKings points per minute this year. Looks like a solid option, even at 9,100. RJ Barrett's been playing even more than Randall for the most part. I have him in for 39 minutes here. He could play more. He's obviously not the same point per minute guy. 0.92 DraftKings points per minute for the season, 26% usage rate. You need him to knock down shots, which is something that he's not always that good at. But with him being Ford eligible, he does still have some appeal here. 22% ownership seems a little bit high to me at almost 7K, but I understand at least where it's coming from given the minutes that he should play.
Okay. Outside of Brunson, who are your priorities from the Knicks or just plays that you like in priority order?
So, I think Brunson's the best play. I do seem to be getting some Quentin Grimes right now, but that's likely to change as more value opens up. It's just that, I think he's likely to play 32 to 34 minutes. And it's a fast-paced game, but I think that I'll start to lose Grimes once we get better value, once I rerun stuff for Jimmy Butler being out or doubtful. Mitchell Robinson, $5,200 center, pulling around 15% ownership or 12% ownership makes some sense. He's been playing bigger minutes recently. It's just a matter of if he can avoid foul trouble. No real interior presence for Golden State is beneficial for him. So I think that ownership makes sense. If he does get in foul trouble, you should get some more Hartenstein at 3,400. He's pulling 6% ownership. Very similar to Bagley, where he's a cheap guy that on average isn't going to do very well, but if the starter gets in foul trouble, you're just going to get more minutes. Quickly, like you said, reasonable, should play around 24 minutes, 25 minutes here. You've seen Derrick Rose booted from the rotation, and that's helped Quickly's playing time.
Okay. That's right, Kickstart. Yeah, Josh has a GoFundMe for, I think it was I'm not sure what it was for. Whoever was helping his mom, it was some foundation.
It was for the hospice center where they live.
I think he said, they just treated her like it was great care and everything. So he threw up a GoFundMe for that. Yeah, if you guys wanted to go and help out, that'd be cool. I mean, listen, no obligation to do so, but somebody was asking about that, so wanted to throw that out there. 3 down, 2 to go. Greg and Eric coming up for Live Before Lock. Sorry that you guys have to deal with me on these NBA deeper dives, but we'll get through it. We're doing all right. Back on Friday as well, at least during football season. It's a grind. All right. Washington, 7-point dogs against Phoenix. This is one of the ones that's truly in flux right now, because if Kristaps Porzingis sits, then we have to talk about how this shakes up the rest of the team. But as it stands right now, I'm not sure there is a team that has lower aggregate ownership than the Washington Wizards right now, Adam.
Yeah, I think they're the way things look right now, the least appealing team on the slate.
Butler's confirmed out.
Yeah, I'll say we did just get Butler ruled out. But for Washington, if you assume that Porzingis is in, this is a team where I think there's some spots you could go to for low-owned, high upside pieces in large field tournaments, but there's nothing that's going to look like any sort of a priority. Kristaps Porzingis, if he does play, should give you 34, 35 minutes. He's about a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy. He's going to be a little bit easier to get to on FanDuel because he has power forward eligibility, but he is also a little bit more expensive there as well. On DraftKings, he's center only, so you just have a lot of opportunity costs because some of the best value on the slate is center only. And then you also have a pretty strong mid-range, whether it's DeAndre Ayton on the other side of this game, Bam Adebayo playing without Butler. There's just a lot of center options that are going to make it tough to get to Porzingis. Bradley Beal at 7,900, one of the cheaper price tags you're going to get him at, played about 31 and a half minutes in his return last game. I expect him to get back to his 35 or 36 minutes here. The issue is he's been about a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy this year. He's in the same price range as Chris Paul without Devin Booker, Jordan Poole without Steph Curry. There's just a lot of guards to get to in this range that project a bit better than Beal. Beal can certainly beat them, but he's getting 6% ownership because he's less likely to do so than those guys are. Kuzma's price tag has come up. It's just a really, really tough team to get to if Porzingis is in. If Porzingis is out, you should get Daniel Gafford most likely in the starting lineup at 4K. Doesn't have to be Gafford. We saw them go with Gibson recently as well. But one way or the other, Gafford should get more minutes at 4K and look like a pretty good option if Porzingis is out.
How many games has Gafford started this season with Porzingis out? Two. And he averaged 25 minutes per game. He wasn't bad though. 1.23 fantasy DraftKings points per minute in that spot. 4K. I mean, not exactly the most desirable matchup, but yeah, that would make it pretty interesting for sure.
I'm not seeing him starting any games.
Oh, I'm sorry. Played 2 games without Porzingis, averaged 25 minutes. Who started the games with Porzingis out?
Gibson, I know, started 1. I don't remember who started the other.
Okay. Would you play Gafford even if he doesn't start, working under the assumption that he still gets like 23, 25 minutes at 4K?
Yeah, I would still play him. I would, project him for a few minutes less than if he starts.
Yeah. Because the reason I ask is you look at these 5-game slates with staggered schedules. You have a 7, 2 7:30s, and then this is an island game at 9:00. So good chance we won't know who's starting until after the first 3 games have ticked. But we might know that Porzingis is out, So
yeah.
All right, Phoenix. Let's get deep into the weeds with this one. For those of you guys just jumping in, no Devin Booker, no Campaign, Okogie, Jock Landale. Those are just all the guys that have been ruled out for today. We'll start it off with the most obvious question here. DeAndre Bridges, Damian Lee, Chris Paul. I mean, all 4 of these guys are going to be very popular today against this Washington team.
Yeah, and they should be, because taking Devin Booker out clearly opens up production for the other starters, but you also just have minutes available as well. Chris Paul at 8,300 played about 31 and a half minutes yesterday, played about 17 in the first half. He's likely to give you 34 to 36 minutes if this game's competitive. He gets a bump in production without Booker. Usage goes up, assist percentage climbs a little bit as well. So he looks like a really good option, pulling 24% ownership. Ayton at 7,600 sees a usage bump without Booker. He should give you 30 to 32 minutes if this game's competitive and look good at 7,600. Bridges has averaged 38 minutes per game and has a 20.5% usage rate without Booker on the floor this year. Chris Paul being in drives that usage rate down a little bit, but you should still get a bump in usage in addition to more minutes for Bridges. We saw about 16 minutes in the first half for Damian Lee yesterday, even more in the second half after Josh Okogie got hurt. I have him in for 32 minutes, but assuming he's starting, but he could certainly play more. Even in 32 minutes, though, he looks like a good value at 4,300. We did get Dwayne Washington off the injury report. That is kind of big news just from a rotation standpoint. I think it's likely that you see Washington back up Chris Paul, and then you would get like 14 minutes from Washington. You get 16 to 18 minutes from Wainwright. I don't think Dario Saric ends up playing. You could get it where Shamit's the backup to Paul, so you get Saric backing up Craig. if you knew for sure that Saric was going to play like 18 minutes, he'd be kind of interesting at 3K. But my assumption, just based on the way Phoenix has run rotations this year, is that you get Washington as the backup point guard, and it takes those minutes away from Saric. So I'm not planning on going there. I'm not planning on going to Washington either. But if I went to one of them, I would go to Washington because I think he's likely to get more minutes than Saric.
How many minutes are you projecting Bridges for?
38.
Okay. Yeah. Man, Damian Lee played a ton in the second half of that game.
Yeah, he kind of benefited from Okogie going down.
Yeah. I mean, you would definitely think so. And plus, he closed out a game where they were up by like 27 points as well.
Right.
But
yeah,
still,
like I'm basically just going with the first half rotation there where he played about 16 minutes.
which is still enough for
Yeah.
sure. All right. I got to ask you on this one. It would make too much sense to do so. If you're prioritizing these guys, is there any real strong priority order here, or is it just like gonna have a lot of Ayton, Lee, Paul, and Bridges, and then maybe a few of these tertiary options beneath them?
So I think Paul and Ayton are the two priorities in the sense where like I'm going to be really comfortable getting to them. Damian Lee is a priority in the sense that he's cheap, and right now we don't have a ton of good value, but again, you're going to get more most likely as the day goes on. So he's just somebody like right now he's pulling 32% ownership, and that's just because of the lack of value elsewhere. But once we rerun it without Jimmy Butler, that 32% should come down a little bit. It's not that he looks like a can't miss option at his price. He looks good. You know, I have him projected for about 23 DraftKings points at 4,300, so he looks good. So and then Bridges and Craig sort of just like fall in there as last guy in type pieces for me. I think Bridges, kind of like RJ Barrett, is going a little bit over owned, but at the same time, I understand it if he's just the last piece that falls in because he is going to play a lot of minutes.
$20 super chat from Brad Biard. Thanks, Brad. Says, thank you guys for great content as always. I got third in the FanDuel, 250K tourney for 5K. Needed ball to get one more stat for 20. Awesome, man. Congratulations and thank you. Hit us up over at the Stokastic Hall of Fame. You guys know how that works. We do the segment in between all of our live shows, right? We shout everybody out. We give away some free months of Stokastic plus Platinum. We induct you into the Hall of Fame. I induct you into the Hall of Fame. Jordan, I don't know if you have the graphic in front of you. You could always throw it up there. If you don't, it's fine. But if you guys want to get involved and you're not familiar with it, maybe you're newer to the channel, all you got to do is download the profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever you play. And if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you tweet us at Stokastic HOF. That's it. You get up there. We show your screenshot, your kind words, your big win. We give you a free month, $120 value of Stokastic, and you're in business. Not to mention, let's say you haven't hit for $5,000 like Brad did. Let's say you're still trying to get there, right? And you're working your way up. If you decide that you want to use the tools that we have in order to do so, but you don't have the money to pay for them right now, if you have $10 and BetMGM is available in your state, you'll get all of our tools for every single sport for free for 2 full months, including our premium Discord. Every tool I mentioned earlier, every tool that Adam and I reference on the show that you hear about every day, $240 value, all of that entirely free. Listen up. Here's what you do. Because I know there's plenty of you out there that have been like, I'd like to try it, but man, it's expensive. If I had those tools, maybe I could win. Maybe I would be a better play. Well, here's what you do. Use the link in the description or the one that Jordan just threw in the chat. Sign up with that link so we can track you. Otherwise, we can't give you the 2 free months. It's hard to trust people around there. And put $10 in and put that on any game. After any game, whatever. After that settles, we got you 2 free months, and your first bet is risk-free. So up to $1,000, no matter how much. If you lose it, you get $1,000, or you get all of your money back in free bets. It's a straight no-brainer. We'd love to see you over there in the Discord using the tools. Yeah, man. We'll see you over there. BetMGM. All it takes is $10 if you got it. You'll get all our content for 2 free months. All right, let's talk about Memphis and Denver before we turn the page over to Live Before Lock. Grizzlies, Adam, coming into Denver here. 2-point favorites, 235.5 total. This is by far the highest on the slate. No real injury news to speak of. So let's start it from the top. What do we want to do with John Morant here at 10,400?
Morant looks great. Second highest projected guy on the slate for me. Quite a bit behind Jokic, but also a $1,400 price difference there. Really like getting him where you can. He's also only pulling 17% ownership right now. Probably does increase a bit as other value opens up once we rerun stuff for Miami. But Morant's been great without Desmond Bane this year, averaging about 1.6 DraftKings points per minute. Should play 33 minutes or so, assuming he doesn't get ejected for talking to a fan like he did last game. But should be a high-scoring game. Morant looks fantastic.
All right. We're 19 likes from 500. That's in the books. No problem. Quick work of that. Thank you to all of you guys for supporting the show. It means a lot to us. Outside of John Morant, Adams, Brooks, Jaren Jackson. I mean, it falls off a cliff once you get past Adam and Brooks here against Denver. It's funny because it's a high total game, but you can run a deep rotation with this Memphis team. Nobody's dirt cheap now that they're getting healthy. Are there any priority plays outside of John Morant, who's really not even pulling that much ownership right now?
Right. Yeah. The issue with Morant is just, what does your lineup look like to get to him?
Right.
I think that Adams, Brooks, Jackson are the other three guys that I would have interest in. This is kind of an interesting tournament team, though, because the ownership just isn't there to the same extent that it is on some of these other teams where, we had a lot of teams where it's just like, oh, they're pulling 20%. And I think they're fine, but they're not, anything special as far as plays go. Here you have Memphis just not pulling quite as much. Steven Adams coming in at 13%. He averages around 27 minutes per game, but they're going to want him out there if he can avoid foul trouble. He's also averaging over a fantasy point per minute in the games he's played without Bane. If you give him 27 minutes, he projects pretty well for a $5,100 price tag. And, if he does avoid foul trouble, you could easily get 30 minutes from him here. So I think he's another, interesting, relatively inexpensive centerpiece. Comparing him to Jalen Duren, for example, he's getting, basically half the ownership. Dylan Brooks, the upside that he gives you if the shots happen to fall. They're just not going to fall all that often. Jaren Jackson is somebody that I've had trouble getting to this year just because of how many minutes he plays. And I don't think he projects as a great option for $6,700, but he does give you a ton of volatility because he is so good at blocking shots. He's also shot at an above average or a better than normal rate so far this year. I think it's likely you see that come back down to earth, and that's one reason he doesn't project quite as well as he would if you're just looking at his per minute rates for the season. But he is still a young player. It's possible he's just improved as a shooter. He's averaged about 1.3 to 1.35 fantasy points per minute without Bane this year. I think it's likely going forward that you get around 1.2, but still, he's getting 4% ownership on a slate where you don't have a lot of good forward options. I think he's really interesting in larger field tournaments just because of the block upside that he does give you if he's able to avoid foul trouble. So all three of those guys, not guys that I'm building around, but they do look kind of interesting. I'll mention John Conchar as well, just because he should still start. He's likely to play 24 to 26 minutes. I think Damian Lee is the better option. I don't think Damian Lee is 8 or 16 times better, like ownership currently suggests that he should be.
Did you mean to time that guy out in chat?
Yeah, he just kept posting the same thing about the Suns.
Oh, he was spamming. By the way,
every 5 minutes he was just like, the best team in the NBA is the Suns, and the best college team is Arizona. It's like,
and his username is AZ King.
Yeah, and nobody was even interacting with him, and then he was posted again 5 minutes later.
I love Adam. I love Adam taking the controls here. I saw someone say in chat. I was just scrolling. I saw someone say, "Yeah, he is a smug dick," and I had to scroll up because I'm like, okay, they're talking about Adam, but they weren't talking about you.
Yeah, no, they were talking about the guy that just keeps coming in chat and talking shit about me and being wrong all the time. I'm all for being a smug dick. I do it a lot, but have an idea what you're talking about.
But you have to be able to back it up is the thing.
Right. Yesterday he was commenting on how projections are made and I corrected him and he told me I was wrong. It's like, okay.
Because you don't make your own projections. Right. Let's talk about Denver and return this over to the boys at Live Before Lock. How much Jokic do you want to get today? And if you're talking about what it's going to look like if you get to Ja, the hell's it going to look like if you're getting the Nikola Jokic? Because, well, I guess we are going to get a little bit more value here. We should. It should be a little bit easier. But Jokic, very expensive, as Jordan would say, exorbitant price point.
Yeah, and so it's relatively easy to get to Jokic because you have so many guys in that 5 to 6K range that look good. The issue with Jokic right now, if cheaper value doesn't open up, is that it does cost you, the Jordan Pooles and Chris Pauls and stuff like that. But like in my top projected DraftKings lineup coming into the show, I had Jokic, and it's still a good lineup. Like there's no pieces in it that I'm just like, oh, I really hate that. But the only guy above 6K other than Jokic was Jalen Brunson. So it's just, it cost me those other guys. But as you get to, Miami value and potentially Golden State value, depending on what their lineup looks like, you will be able to, build some lineups where maybe you can go from Brunson up to Poole, or you can go from, Conley up to Poole and drop somebody else down, like drop Draymond down to a 3K guy. So I think you're going to be able to build solid enough lineups with Jokic. And the thing is, just as much as I like Morant, I still have him 9 points behind Jokic. And with it being a 5-game slate, the raw points just are more likely to matter there, because when you talk about, Jokic at a near 12K price tag on a 10-game slate, typically you're just going to have a lot of 8 to 10K guys. And if any of them go for 60, 65 DraftKings points, that means you probably need the 75, 80 fantasy point game from Jokic. But on a slate like this, there's only so many guys that can even approach 60 fantasy points. As long as Morant doesn't go nuts and, Jordan Poole keeps it, under 50, you're probably going to be fine as long as Jokic gets you 65 points. So it just becomes a lot more appealing to get to Jokic.
Gavin Weeks says, Adam is, where is that? I lost it. I know what it said. He said, Adam is incredibly smug, but I would never play him in a head-to-head. Let me tell you something, man. That is the Calvin Weeks. That is the biggest compliment you could give to Adam. Probably just made his day.
I mean, I think it's a very fair assessment.
Yeah. No, I think you think it's a compliment.
Yeah, I do take that as a compliment.
I know you do. I know you well enough to know that you're like, oh, all right. That's what I've been going for. All right.
Yeah,
Wrap
I
us
also
up.
take Jason Auerbach as a compliment. Adam teaches class on being a smug dick. It fits him well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Complete
But just the fact that he ended it with, but I wouldn't want to play him in a head-to-head.
Yeah.
God. All right.
Moses Moody starting for Golden State.
Okay.
And Javonte Green out for Chicago.
We're over time. Wrap up Denver here.
Jamal Murray expected to play based on Harrison Wynn, the Denver beat writer. He said Murray actually was dealing with a sore knee last game, feels better today, went through shoot around, makes him look good at 6,900. He's another guard in that range that's going to be pretty appealing to get to. Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown, both also pretty appealing options. Gordon pulling 15%, Brown pulling 21%. Bones Highland is very similar to Emmanuel Quickley, where he's just not really getting ownership here. And I like going to guys like Bones Highland on slates where they're not pulling ownership. It's really scary when they are, because he's going to play anywhere from like 16 to 28 minutes. But if you project him for about 21 minutes, which is what he's been averaging recently, he projects as about a 4.5 to 5x guy. So at low ownership, I do have some interest there in tournaments. We do need to keep an eye on the injury report. KCP is questionable. I'm assuming he plays. Murray is still technically listed as questionable as well. But assuming they're in, I think Jokic is the clear priority. Murray looks really good. Gordon, Brown, KCP are sort of just last pieces in. KCP offers some value as well.
Hey, Jordan, run a poll, because the chat's got something going. Who is the bigger smug dick, Adam or Josh? Let's see what
Josh,
the results
100%.
come up. What, you think Josh wins?
Josh.
You think he's going to like run away with this?
He should.
Okay. Put that poll out there. I got to see the results. I'll stick around to watch live before live. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS, me at Lafayette_D. Shout out to Jordan Klein. You guys are the best. Good luck tonight. We'll catch you back here for the next one. Don't go anywhere. Live before lock right now. Peace. Yo, it's that time of week again, and it's a special time of week. It's the holiday season. We got Christmas upon us. Hanukkah's happening right now, and that means we're giving some stuff out, like some Stokastic Plus Platinum memberships, putting people up in the Hall of Fame here, and all you got to do to get involved is download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins at StokasticHOF on Twitter. You want to get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum? You want to get inducted into the Hall of Fame? That's how we do it. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and boom, you're in. Let's get started on what we've got going for this week. Some big winners, starting it off with Clem 822, Michael P. Clement to be exact. Thank you guys. Best tools in the industry. Special thanks to Player Q DFS and Draftaholic. Look at that. Top tying himself with $4,700 on each of them. Huge win for Michael. Next up, we're talking Trafalgar Law. It's easier to say Louis with the $15,000 win. One shot hit. Thank you to Josh and Eric for the Kessler pick and all the advice from everybody else. LFG, huge win, Louis. Congratulations with solo shot, just straight single bullets across the board. And D Fick with a $2,000 win. Thank you, Matt Kajeski and Stokastic, for my best college finish to date. Oh, and we got D Fick again. Always nice to solo bing a large field showdown. Player Q DFS has mapped out how to do it pretty nicely. He 100% has. Another $1,000 win for D Fick. Our boy News Guide, you've seen him in chat, you've seen him in Discord. Man's working every hour of the day. Shout out to Stokastic projected stats page. Turning a $10 bet into 466 using all of our projected props over there with OddsShopper and Stokastic. Keith Roberts, when that Russell Gage garbage time touchdown brings Christmas a week early. Shout out to the whole Stokastic crew for the tools and daily knowledge. Stop throwing your money away and go check them out. Damn right, Keith. $5,000 win. Merry Christmas, brother. And Jay Lusty with a $4,000 win. He's a simple man. At Stokastic is all he has to say. But we got $4,000 there. A little NBA action for Jay Lusty. And we're going to go with how do we do this one? Darg Barbour, I got one. Thanks. $1,000 in the $15,000 single back 3 entry. Congratulations, man. Next up, we got Andrew St. Clair. Yeah, buddy. $2,500. AT St. Clair over there on FanDuel with an NFL one. We had a nice Sunday, it looks like. And then you got, oh, this is the big one. S. Schaefer. Stokastic is fantastic. Took first and 6th. Thanks for providing the tools and the commentary to bring home the big win. Props to Greg Ehrenberg and Gundacker for the pre-slate show. Pre-lock breakdowns are essential to my process. Chalk up another one for the Stokastic Hall of Fame. $100,000 win. 6 figures for Schaefer. Huge win, man. Congratulations. Remember, download the Stokastic avatar at stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame and win a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame.
You make me so upset. Nice hat, though. Absolute donkey. God.
All right, what is going on, guys? We got another Stokastic NBA Live for Lock. Already drama happening. We've already got big things happening behind the scenes. Eric and Jordan are in a big argument, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. But as you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to BetMGM, the sponsor of today's show. We're going to tell you some great ways to make some money at BetMGM. But Eric, why are you at odds with Jordan Klein right now? He's the best producer in the business, or at least
no, he's not.
Company.
He's the best producer named Jordan Klein that I know of. And that's about all I can say right now. I don't even know if he's my favorite Jordan Klein. I could find some dude on Facebook named Jordan Klein. I'd probably like him a lot more than I like him right now because I go out of my way. I go above and beyond. He's like, Eric, I need you to send me the Prize Picks goods. Eric, I need plays for today. Eric, can you send me a card that I can play? So 2 hours ago, I sent him a Prize Picks card. It has fantasy points Kuzma. It has fantasy points Bradley Beal. They are going to be 7-8 points difference from what they were 2 hours ago. And I hit the nuts, and the man didn't even place the bet because he said it's not timely enough for him that, oh, I was producing a show. No, I sent this card 2 hours ago. What are you doing? What? I put you at the forefront of my mind. I put in the work for you, and you don't use it. You don't use my brain. You piss me off. God.
Jordan rebuttal. Come on, Jordan, get on mic.
I plead the fifth on that one.
All right. Let's
you asked me to do it. You specifically said, Eric, I need the plays. I need the prize picks card, something that I wasn't even necessarily considering doing today. Now I'm playing it and I feel very good about the work that I did. And you didn't even use it. You don't even care about me as a person.
All right. Jordan, come back on. Say your piece. Eric really does seem to care about you making some money.
Eric, I apologize. Also, you took Bradley Beal points, not fantasy points.
23.5 points, and then Kyle Kuzma was 35.5 fantasy points at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Listen,
36.
So I'm
36
gonna mediate. I'm gonna mediate in my 2 cents in here. I hope the bet loses, and then this whole thing will just be really hilarious in hindsight. Yeah.
Regardless of whether it loses or not, it's a positive EV bet. That's the thing that pisses me off. It's not about the winning and losing. It's about making the right decision day in, day out. And I made the right decision as a friend, as a coworker, and as a person to help you out in your time of need. You want money. I was there to make you money. It would be like having fucking Mozart as a friend and being like, you know what? I don't need music. I'm good. It's fine.
Eric just compared himself to Mozart. Okay, so here's the solution.
Picasso. Oh, you know what? I don't need that painting in my room.
Jordan, take the poll down. Who's more of a smug dick? Add Eric to it. We'll let the poll figure where it is. And we've got some basketball to talk about right now. So starting with a super chat, and boy, now people want to know about my feelings. Kaz Turd wants to know, how does Butler being out make you feel, Greg? Justified, because he's the softest player in the NBA. I really want to know. Don't hold back. Listen, if you have any expectation that Jimmy Butler is going to play basketball anymore, you're out of your mind. He's a part-time basketball player. I don't know what he does on the side, but he does not play basketball every day. This is his side gig now. He sells coffee, whatever it is he does is his full-time job. I'm not exactly sure, but it is going to shape tonight's slate for sure, because we got 2 pieces of news. Eric's already harped on one. Kristaps Porzingis got ruled out a little before the show started. The other one was Jimmy Butler. So let's start with Jimmy Butler, then we'll talk more about Kristaps Porzingis. With Jimmy Butler being out, what is this going to impact where you're looking at from the Heat?
A lot of things, like even ridiculous stuff. I mean, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Victor Oladipo. We'll see the starting lineup. I could have some Max Strus falling through the cracks. Haywood Highsmith isn't completely out of play considering 3,300. There could be Jovic that starts. There could be a lot of iterations of what we're looking at, but without question, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, those are 2 guys that you want to play on a 5-game slate like this. I think 8,800 might give some people some Tyler Hero sticker shock, but then they'll see how he's been projected, how he's around 40 points. This is a competitive game. Now the spread's down to 1. It was at 3 there before that news dropped. I mean, everything lines up for Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo be good at the top end, and then Victor Oladipo 4,900. I mean, that's going to be very difficult to get away from.
I can't say for sure, but I think Jordan might have just tried to sabotage you by making your mic cut in and out there, which
doesn't in the first
that was
5
done
minutes,
intentionally by
10
Jordan.
minutes of shows. It always happens, and then it's done for the rest of the time. It's a weird thing.
I think Jordan did it intentionally,
Jordan
but
does a lot of things intentionally, like break my heart. It's fine.
Other players on the Heat. So I agree with you totally. Guys like Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, they become higher priority spend up options. Are there any value plays they're really honing in on from Miami?
Victor Oladipo, high, 4,900. That's value. Haywood Highsmith has to at least be considered. Whoever ends up starting in this grouping, because I don't think Victor Oladipo necessarily just automatically starts. He hasn't started a game other than, what was it, preseason. So that doesn't count. Literally has not started a game yet this season during the regular season. And I don't necessarily see that changing. I could see him coming off the bench. I hope he comes off the bench because I'll just play a ton of him. If he gets in the starting lineup, he's going to be 50% owned really, really quickly. So I'm kind of cheering against it, and I'll play a ton of him there. Haywood Highsmith, 3,300. I mean, for me, that's like a minutes thing. We've seen a couple of times 28, 30, 28 minutes in relief of a lot of these guys. They're shorthanded. Jovic at 3,200, if he starts, I think comes into play. So yeah, lots of value options.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is because just the way that things could move so quickly, because we get the Jimmy Butler news, I update everything, you start to think, all right, Miami, and I totally agree with you, by the way, Victor Oladipo, kind of even after the Porzingis news, is going to be a top value play for me. I'm still in the midst of rerunning lineups here, but there was more Heat guys that I felt I was going to be getting to. And then the Porzingis news comes out. It's like, all right, I have to update for that. And that is going to change some things as well. So let's talk about the Washington situation. No Kristaps Porzingis. And the last time we saw him out, we've seen extra minutes go to Taj Gibson, extra minutes go to Daniel Gafford. Why Taj Gibson plays as much as he does, totally beyond me, but he's somebody who we are going to have to consider is going to at least be part of the rotation here. What stands out the most to you from Washington other than Jordan Klein not placing your prize picks bets?
Yeah, well, if Jordan Klein would also notice how well curated and perfectly manicured my bet was for him, he will see that Bradley Beal, I don't know what that minute ceiling is for him coming back. I don't expect him to just automatically play 36, but what happens is that the offense is going to run pretty much exclusively through him. A little bit of Kyle Kuzma, but like Bradley Beal, his usage is just going to go through the roof here. I feel pretty good that he'll be at 7,900, somebody that I land on quite a bit as I finish up a lot of my lineups. I like Tyler Hero more. I think the minute ceiling is just undeniably better. A guy who's routinely playing around 40 in competitive basketball games as opposed to Bradley Beal, who he played 32 minutes against the Lakers. Do we expect 35, 36 for him right out of the gate here? That'd be great, but I don't just expect it to happen. Kyle Kuzma, the rebound rate, everything's going to look good there. So both of those spend up options, but obviously Daniel Gafford is the primary beneficiary. He is projected over 30 here at Stokastic. He is 4K for all of you projecting value 7.5x. That looks pretty good to me. So Daniel Gafford, probably the premier value play on the entire slate.
Yeah, I take no opposite stance to that at all. And there's a good chance he's not going to start, by the way. We should let people know that. Are you on the same page with me that he's probably not going to start?
No, he's not. I hope he doesn't. I do not want him to start.
Yes.
I want Gafford to not start, and I want Oladipo to not start, because then I will have nearly 100% of them. It's hard to there's such good plays that maybe I get to that much anyway, but by them just by default starting, it gives everybody certainty in what those minutes look like. Whereas you might get some people to hit eject. We did at least last time. Daniel Gafford, once he wasn't starting and it was Taj Gibson, I know I overreacted to start with and then ended up being like, well, Taj Gibson can't play 20 minutes. Like that would just be borderline psychotic for them to play Taj Gibson 20, 25 minutes. So I stuck with all the Gafford. It worked out. And I think we just do that again today if Taj Gibson starts.
The minutes allocation. So we saw a game about a week ago. They were playing the Denver Nuggets, and there was no Kristaps Porzingis gets ruled out in that spot. Taj Gibson played 18 minutes, and then we got 26 out of Gafford. More or less what you're expecting again here?
Yep, that's it. I hope it's Taj Gibson starting, and I won't play him, and I'll play Daniel Gafford, just like I did last time. So, again, it adds an extra level of uncertainty to the situation for other people. Whereas if you're watching this show routinely and you're not just reacting to starting lineups and you're going through the process of going to Popcorn Machine or looking at box scores to know how many minutes somebody played, Daniel Gafford, regardless of starting or not, is a fantastic play at 4K. That will not change between now and lock.
And then what else should we talk about, if anything, when it comes to the Washington Wizards?
I mean, we got to talk at least about blowout potential a little bit. I mean, you can't overreact. It's still only at 7. It hasn't changed all that much. I think the books did a good job of being able to react to that, but Devin Booker being out, I think that helps the situation quite a bit. I think Denny Avdia, maybe not as crazy of a play. I mean, he's right now projected around 2%. I got 3x that. I got 6% in my last run at 5,600. I think he's at least interesting. He went from a guy who projected around 20 this morning when I started my research and going through stuff to around 25.5. Monty Morris, another guy who might just fall through the cracks. This is just a 5-game slate. There isn't some 3K guy that's just on the board. We're automatically just paying up for studs. A lot of the top plays are in this mid-range, whether it's Chris Paul, whether it's Bradley Beal, whether it's definitely Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, all between 7 and 8K. I want to find access to get to as much Jokic as possible, and maybe Daniel Gafford gives me that on DK, but as of right now, I'm not getting there as much as I was hoping.
Yeah, one thing about the Wizards, some of these other players you mentioned, like you brought up Denny Avdia, he's so expensive now. He's $5,400 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he is. I was just updating my.
I like 5,600. Yeah, he's expensive. I said on FanDuel, I think he's a better play, obviously just because of the tag. But even at 5,600, I got to 6% of him, which isn't nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean, clearly not a priority play whatsoever, but I wasn't exactly sure what some of these role players' prices were at the moment for the Wizards until I started updating for Porzingis being out. And it is really hard to get to these guys as being a priority is kind of the point I was making. It's like, whatever, 6% of Avi, who cares? But it's hard to really prioritize these players as we might think we would in other scenarios on a 5-game slate, just because the prices are so high.
Totally.
So, Kuzma looks really good, particularly on FanDuel. I think Kuzma is one of the top plays on the slate. Beal, good play on FanDuel and DraftKings, a little bit stronger on DraftKings. And then Gafford is just the best play of the bunch for me as far as a points per dollar basis goes. And then nothing else is a priority unless there's anything that we're overlooking here.
Not at all. No, I think we've hit it on the head with Washington. You're playing a ton of Gafford. Like Gafford, it's impossible for me, especially on this slate. Think about yesterday. We had so many guys that had single-digit bust percentages. Daniel Gafford is at 3%. Victor Oladipo's at 8%. Everybody else is north of 14, 15% in terms of bust. That's a 25th percentile performance, basically. Like looking at their floors, what that would be. A bust would be not hitting 5x on their projection based on their fantasy numbers. So like, I feel really, really good about playing tons of those two and rotating around them.
All right, so I'm going to recrunch my lineups and see what ends up coming out. In the meantime, did we get any super chats that came in? We did. Big Money NJ, Greg, thanks for getting into the Discord. Awesome content. Eric, Lord Bojan Lindquist is my hero.
My guys, it's so sad to see 21.5 and 22.5 as the numbers now. But if you go to OddsShopper as well, once again, I feel like maybe I had a little bit of influence in it, but the guy's shooting 50, 40, 90. He's shooting 50, 40, 90. He's always been one of the premier shooters. Doesn't have to play alongside Donovan Mitchell going forward. He has Cade Cunningham off the floor here at the moment. It's Duran season down there low. Not really a high usage guy that you're now adding instead of Marvin Bagley into that starting unit. Everything has put me around 23, 24 points, just raw points for Bojan the last couple of weeks. That still exists, but it's a lot harder to justify a massive play on the over of 22.5 in that spot or 21.5 even. So we've had a lot of fun. I think that fun is starting to slow down a little bit. And hopefully the number plummets when Cade Cunningham gets back and can get back on the Bojan train.
You mean a year from now? You just bet Bojan
Well, you'll get traded before then. I mean, weren't the Lakers going to trade Russell Westbrook for him? Wasn't that going to happen?
The amount of people that have been rumored to be traded for Russell Westbrook and then it never works out because nobody wants Russell Westbrook. It is just an astonishing amount of names that come up because it constantly gets thrown in, never ends up being.
Bogdanovich is such a good piece for a basketball team. You could have a 50, 40, 90 guy who doesn't need to play with the ball in his hands that legitimately can create for himself if he needs to, but can get by on straight up efficiency. I mean, the guy is a wonderkin. I love him so much.
Was there? Yeah, okay. One more super chat in here from Michael McKinney. Who are the 5 must plays for FanDuel Cash? And then also he gives us a thanks in advance. So let's see. Current guys I would consider must plays for FanDuel Cash. Number one top of the board for me that we'd have to be considering right now is Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma is very cheap right now on FanDuel. So in the absence of Kristaps Porzingis, we've got Kuzma. I'm actually surprised he isn't projected to be more popular. Only 25% ownership for Kuzma at 8K.
More. I want
still
more.
Play him in cash games. 8K Kyle Kuzma. That is too cheap. Chris Paul without Devin Booker. That's another one we're going to want to play. Victor Oladipo with all the guys out for Miami. Want him in play. Tyler Hero. Same deal. Who's the 5th one for you? Who's the 5th guy that we're going to consider must play in FanDuel Cash? I gave out Kuzma, Oladipo, Chris Paul, Tyler Hero. Who you adding to that mix?
On FanDuel?
Yes.
Kuminga's active, right?
Yeah, he's coming off the bench, though.
I don't care. 4,200, I'd probably put that one into the mix. I mean, he's at small forward, too, which Kuzma is small forward, power forward. I'm looking through. I would want Zach LaVine, shooting guard, small forward, probably goes shooting guard there. Yeah, Kuminga coming up with a pretty high optimal percentage for us, too. I think 4,200 is just really cheap and probably gives you access to getting Jokic, Morant, some combination of the studs you want.
And then we've got Timothy Johnson saying Gafford in play more now. Absolutely. Gafford, very, very strong option.
He's the best value play on both sites. No, Victor Oladipo is better on FanDuel. I misspoke. I just pulled it up. DraftKings Daniel Gafford is an absolute windmill dunk, slam dunk. And then Gafford is 5,300 on FanDuel. Still like him. Still really, really like him. That ownership's going to come up, but Oladipo's the best value play over there.
Yeah. So the thing that makes Gafford different across DraftKings and FanDuel, one, he's more expensive on FanDuel, but then the other thing too is you could only play him in the center lineup. So the opportunity cost of playing Gafford in the center is not being able to get to Jokic. And I want to
or Bam Adebayo, right?
Well, Adebayo also has power forward eligibility.
Oh, then yay. That's fun. So yeah, your opportunity cost is Ayton and Jokic.
Yeah. So the centers right now on FanDuel, in terms of players who are center only that I'm getting the most exposure to, it's still Gafford 1 for me, but then 2 on FanDuel is Jokic, and then 3 is DeAndre Ayton for me, just behind Jokic. But those are my 3 favorite guys who just have center eligibility. And then I'm going to get to more exposure also of guys like Julius Randle, Bam Adebayo, but they're power forward and center eligible. Some more spots to fit them in. We've got some other questions coming in the Discord channel, but first, shout out to BetMGM, who is sponsoring the show today. And oh my God, is there great value we had at BetMGM? First of all, we have this terrific graphic that comes up all the time. Have you seen this graphic before, Eric? Have you seen this before?
Let me see. Yeah, well, don't troll me. Don't troll me like that.
Have you seen this before? It's wonderful.
God.
For the new promo, yeah.
No, but it's still the it's
stuck
still
on these nuts, Gregory.
Oh my God, but that's not even the promo we're doing on this show.
Oh, okay, then we have it.
Yeah. Pull it up, Jordan.
God.
Pull it up. Come on,
Jordan. You're already in the doghouse. Do you really want to go further in? Do you really want this?
Yeah, this is make sure we get the graphic on. The people don't even know how to sign up if they don't have the graphic, Jordan. Because when you sign up using our link over at BetMGM, you can get 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum, and you're going to get a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. All you have to do is click on this link, sign up, make a minimum deposit of $10, and you are going to have the world at your fingertips. But most importantly, when you sign up, you keep this graphic of Eric Lindquist in circulation, which is really the number one. 3 benefits of signing up at BetMGM. And I have to say the number one value is getting this graphic still in circulation. It's the best picture that Eric has ever taken of him.
I don't see it. Oh, son of a bitch. There it is.
Yeah, there we go.
Such a dick.
There we go. Now
you're such a bad person. What's it like being such a bad person?
Using the link because it triggers
Jordan Klein makes me do more work than I already do.
Very few things that are more entertaining in life than triggering Eric Lindquist.
God,
super chat from Jorge.
I don't know why I work here. Go ahead. Fine. Go ahead.
You work here because nobody else will have you.
Oh, gee, thank you. Yeah, Nolan Kelly did say before that he would trade me for Westbrook, that would be something he would do. And that was offensive. That was probably the most offensive thing I've ever heard.
I have to say, I disagree with that. Mostly because because Eric is so much cheaper to employ than Russell Westbrook. That's just
answer the question, okay? Just go. Move on. New topic.
Yeah, Nolan, before we make any deals, consider the salary that Russell Westbrook commands. He's getting paid like $55 million a year. We've got Eric working here for food stamps and snacks that we send him in the mail. That's it. Russell Westbrook, way more expensive. It's just something
Rivers gift. Philip Rivers
Jorge
gift.
Jacomi. We also give him gift cards sometimes. Jorge Jacomi, with the value of Gafford, what are your thoughts on this center position and people like Kuminga and Jokic? So I still think Jokic is the best pay up option on the slate. And one thing that's really nice, because Jorge, I know you play over on DraftKings, that you could play Gafford and Jokic in the same lineup with no issue. So to me, actually, if anything, in a weird way, Gafford kind of makes it easier to get to Jokic, even though they're both centers, because just another value option that makes it easier to pay up for Jokic. As for Kuminga, though, I think he's overowned today. I think that Moses Moody is not a bad pivot off of him. So if you look at Kuminga's just overall production this year, he's not a great fantasy producer, Jonathan Kuminga. And I don't think he's guaranteed to play a ton of minutes either. I know he's gone big in some of these spots where the Warriors have been missing guys, but with Kuminga coming off the bench, I don't think he's guaranteed to play big minutes, and he's just not a great points per minute fantasy producer, and he's not 3K anymore. He's not a min price guy. So I'm going to be underweight to the field on Kuminga. I still am going to be getting to a lot of Jokic, but Eric, a couple things here. First, what does Gafford be in the mix due to Jokic for you? And then you can talk about Kuminga, which was spelled very incorrectly by Jorge.
So let's start. Yeah, the first one, Jokic and Gafford. On DK, you can play both, but also don't forget about Bam Adebayo. I think Jimmy Butler being out really inflates that. DeAndre Ayton for Phoenix on the back-to-back. He played pretty limited minutes. They just ran the Lakers out of the gym, so that made it pretty easy to limit his minutes. He only played 26, and now he gets to play Daniel Gafford, a notorious hack monster. So feel all right going to getting some Ayton as well, but Gafford still, regardless of the foul trouble concerns and anything else, he's just too cheap and too good not to be the best value play on the slate. But that might take away a little bit from Jokic. I'm rerunning stuff. I'm not getting Jokic as much as I was hoping for based on getting Gafford into the mix. We'll see if something changes there. As for Kuminga, I'm on the opposite side of you. I like Kuminga, I think, a lot more than Moses Moody. If you look at our ownership, we've now got Moses Moody higher owned than Jonathan Kuminga. This is kind of the trend of this slate for me. It's a 5-gamer where the people feel more certain about the guys who are starting. I hope Oladipo doesn't start. I hope Gafford doesn't start. And we got Moody starting here. He played 32 minutes, but you talk about how bad Kuminga is from a fantasy aspect. Moses Moody is complete trash from a fantasy perspective. He's
to be clear,
0.63 fantasy points per minute. He's 3,300. That's the main thing. Go ahead.
I'm not playing much of either. I just have more exposure to Moody.
Okay. I got like around 8% Kuminga, which is right around the field at the moment. He's about 9% owned. Moses Moody, I have zero interest when he's getting double-digit owned. I think that's going to be the piece people use to get to Jokic, but the opportunity cost is a lineup spot where I still think because of Gafford and some of these other value plays that exist, you're going to need something out of that spot. Jokic would have to go for 75 or 80 to offset a 15 or 18 ball from Moses Moody. So I am definitely more on the side of Kuminga at their current ownerships, thinking that, hey, if he plays the 28 minutes, which we've seen like against Milwaukee and that loss during this super long road trip that they're on, I feel like the upside is at least warranted going to Kuminga at the ownership, whereas with Moody, it just doesn't feel like it is.
By the way, if you refresh the ownership, it's a little different looking now.
Okay, let me get there.
Moody is currently projected for 9% ownership on DraftKings at $3,300.
Look at that. Kuminga, we're updating everything instantly. That feels nice. That feels
Kuminga
good.
Also 9% ownership at $4,900. Here's the big thing for me with Kuminga.
About the same.
Kuminga 35% projected ownership on FanDuel.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I would play him in cash, 4,200. I think he's a good cash option. I would hope I found something else in the next however long to maybe not have to do that. But I had talked about the 5 options before. I still think on FanDuel at that number, he was a guy that just, you look at our optimal percentage there. He's right there with Chris Paul and Victor Oladipo in terms of that 41.2% optimal percentage. The floor could definitely be there in a more pronounced way than you would want. You look at, compare him to just about anything at the small forward, power forward range that's popular. It's going to be more security going elsewhere, like going to Aaron Gordon at 6,900. I don't completely hate more for cash, but yeah, I still think I would probably end up pulling the trigger at 4,200 if I needed it.
Yeah, for cash games, for tournaments, I have about half.
It's a lot.
I have about half the field right now. It's so much ownership going to Kuminga. Once again, he's just not a great fantasy producer. We've seen him have games where he spiked upside, but overall for the year, it's a guy who's playing 17 and a half minutes per game and averaging 14 fantasy points. And what's he going to play off the bench today?
You never know.
25, 26, 27 in all likelihood.
He's kind of a hot hand approach guy with Kerr. It seems like when he gets out and plays well to start, he can get some extra run. And for me, the thing is like, at 9%, I'm willing to take that shot a little bit more. Moses Moody can get the minutes, could play well, and could still do nothing. How many games do you think he has over 25 fantasy points this season?
Kuminga?
No, Moses Moody.
Oh, Moses Moody. Well, I almost think this isn't a fair question because Kuminga's been in way more advantageous spots than Moody has, though. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah, Moses Moody has one start, and so yeah, the sample size on him starting is. Different. The answer is probably 0, but he's played extended minutes the correct like twice the entire year. Right. So, but for me, it's like 3,300. I think on this slate, because of the mid range and how good it is, you're giving up a lineup spot to a guy at 3,300 to get access to somebody like Jokic. He is above and away the best projected player on this slate, like by an absolute landslide. I would want to get there as much as possible, similar to, how many times I've talked about Luka on these shows. That went well yesterday, didn't it?
Lots of fun. Thanks, Luca. Just shut up and play basketball. But Nikola Jokic, I would want to get to tons of him. I just think if Moses Moody's the price of admission, you should probably buy a different ticket.
All right, we've got some questions coming into the Discord. One of the perks of being a Stokastic Plus Platinum member, which, by the way, get a 3-day free trial by clicking on the link below, or link that's about to be thrown into the YouTube chat. 3-day free access. If you guys have never signed up before, you get access to player projections, ownership projections, Boom Bust Tool, our new lineup generator, which is just the easiest and best way to make a bunch of lineups in the blink of an eye. Because what you're going to do is you're just going to click a couple of buttons on the lineup generator, and it's going to spit out up to 20 plus EV lineups that you could enter right from there into DraftKings or FanDuel. So check that out if you guys haven't already. It's great for new DFS players. And once again, 3-day free trial if you haven't signed up before. Just click on the link below. Hitting on some of these Discord questions. First, Seth1374, making some warm chicken soup for my wife's boyfriend. And this always gets screwed up. I got an alert in Discord as I was reading it, and then the messages all got changed. Here we go. All right. He's making some warm chicken soup for my wife's boyfriend. He has a bad herpes outbreak right now. Tyler Hero or Kyle Kuzma? I wasn't expecting that when I didn't read ahead. Because I don't like to be informed of what Seth wrote.
Yeah.
All right.
I like to read. Yeah, whatever.
Is chicken soup good for herpes? I don't know. Tyler Hero or Kyle Kuzma at small forward on FanDuel for GPP. I prefer Kuzma.
I prefer Kuzma over a lot of things. I am particularly high on him on Prize Picks on the over of his fantasy score when I got that at 33.5 earlier today.
And follow-up, AM Jennison says, let Jordan know they get Beal discounted at 20.5 points on Prize Picks.
Oh, right, trust me. He already sent me an updated card with that number. And now I had to put in the same damn card nearly identically just with the taco because I was so upset that like he actually found a better number. I'm so pissed off about it. It's like,
see, this is why,
procrastination worked out for him.
See, what actually happened is Jordan's the sharper one of you two. And he knew that if he bided his time, he waited, he was patient, something better was going to come around.
Yeah, it's an Oppo taco.
Slow and steady wins the race sometimes.
Or just
there we go
with Jordan.
Jordan Klein, sharp. Eric, I believe you owe him an apology.
I do not. I will not.
Oh, you most
and I have not.
do.
And I cannot.
What number did you text Jordan to play? What was the
23.5.
And Jordan, which one did you end up playing?
20.
20.5.
20 seems much
20.5, you liar.
20.5.
20.
It's a taco. I didn't know a taco was going to show up. What am I supposed to do? Predict the future?
Seems to me like Eric was trying to mislead Jordan this entire time.
Oh my effing God. Stop it. Stop it with your
Jordan,
slandering.
Sharp. That's the way you take advantage of these tacos. I love it. Got next question is from Miami Highlight. God, is that Jordan Klein sharp? Which two centers should I jam in DK single entry for the center and utility? Joker, Bam, Ayton, Gafford, Duren. I think the two best centers to play in single entry today are Gafford and Jokic.
Done. Same answer. I might go Bam Adebayo because people are going to play a lot more Jokic. I don't know. Maybe you heard, Greg. Did you hear Jokic had a good game on Sunday?
He only has good games now. And I think people are going to shit their pants if he wins his third consecutive MVP trophy.
40, 27, and 10. Like that's truly the dumbest stat line that I've seen in a long, long time. We've seen some 100 balls from James Harden at times. They were not 40, 47, 40, whatever, 27 and 10. Like that's just pure silliness.
Next question we got is from Lucky. He's saying, would you set a max 3 or max 4 on this slate? I didn't set a max. So I'm getting some lineups with 4, but nothing. It depends how many lineups you're building. In general, most of my lineups don't have more than 3. If a couple lineups to pop up with 4, I don't think it's the end of the world. It's only a 5-game slate. The value is pretty concentrated. So Eric, are you setting any kind of max limits on individual teams, 3 or 4?
Sure, I'm not.
Okay, yeah. If you're getting 5, I think that's too much for this slate, especially playing on FanDuel because they don't allow 5.
Yeah, because that's cheating.
Yeah, which if you found a way to do that, DM me. But if you're just playing on DraftKings, I wouldn't have more than 4. But if you have lineups that have 4, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, 4 would be the most that would show up in something, unless you were like just you had rules in place that would make that happen. Like, hey, I want to get to everybody from Washington, Phoenix for whatever reason. I mean, that would be the game that I would stack up, but I'm not doing that.
Super chat for the Claw 28. Best shooting guard on DK for 5,700 and under. Thanks. All right, $5,700 and under at shooting guard on DK. That is Bruce Brown for me for two reasons. Number one, he's currently the guy who I've projected the best right there, slightly ahead of Victor Oladipo for me. But here's another thing to consider too. Jamal Murray is questionable. I think he's very live to end up not playing today.
He's playing.
Oh, did we just get that?
Yeah, no. So there was a beat writer from Denver that said that he was fine, that it was an old knee deal. Let me find the exact thing, but from what I read, it sounds like he's playing basketball.
I still think he's iffy.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. Again, you should have enough exposure to lineup spots from Phoenix, from Phoenix, and getting to that. Bruce Brown would be a smash if you don't have Jamal Murray. Like, you want to have that kind of in place, but I am pretty sure that he is live to play today. Like, I think he's more on the other side of it.
Murray also got hurt at the tail end of the Nuggets last game. And that, to me, also, he's looked terrible lately. Yes. To me, it just makes sense to rest him in this spot. So I do think him being on the injury report with the knee injury, it might not actually be the knee. It just might be, hey, we're resting him because of everything. So, that would be fine. He has not been that good, but also he was at shoot around. Knee feeling better. Sounds like he's going to play tonight. That's Harrison Wind of Denver. That's what I read. Yeah. So maybe he's a little more on the plus side of playing, maybe like 60-40, but I don't think he's for sure playing. I think he's still live to sit.
Okay. I have him probably 65-35 that he does play. But yeah, again, Bruce Brown, automatically that needs to be the first guy in your head in the event that he sits.
So with that in mind, do you have a different answer than me for the sub $5,700 and under?
No, I mean, that's the one that could turn into the best situation for you. If you made me play somebody right now and the slate started now and just locked at 7 p.m., I would pick Malik Beasley, but I don't feel that good about it. Part of it also, Utah on a back-to-back themselves. He only played 23 minutes. He was a little bit more limited. Cleveland got way ahead and they ended up punting the last couple of minutes, just blowout run. You saw some limited minutes for Laurie, even though he had a really good game last night. You saw some limited minutes from guys off the bench there, even guys like Malik Beasley. So I think he would probably be it for me.
And let's see. Chat's been on fire today. So some of the super chats been moving pretty quick. Making sure I get all of them. Here we go. Green check mark. 1 year. Fuck. Kuzma and Bruce Brown, or Randall and Ivy. I prefer Kuzma and Bruce Brown.
I mean, Kuzma is just on I'm going to be on Kuzma's side of everything today.
Shane Daly, herpes are like my putts, burning lips. How do y'all project? I love when we get the super chats that have the interlude that don't have anything to do with the question. But then he says, how do y'all project ownership percentage? It's an algorithm. It's not any different than stuff like a player projection. I mean, it's different in terms of, obviously the algorithm is different, but it's just an algorithm that projects ownership for us. I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of it, so I couldn't be like E equals MC squared is the answer to it. But it's an algorithm that we have behind our paywall. But if you guys do want 3-day access to it, you can sign up clicking on the link that we have below. But by the way, Shane, if that doesn't totally answer your question, message me on Twitter, and maybe there's more specifics I could get into. But a couple of reasons I can't give out all the information. Number two, I don't know every single detail that goes into the ownership percentage either. Is there anything that you want to add to that, Eric?
Not at all.
And the next question, Jake Lewis. Greg, why do you say the word tournament so oddly? It's pronounced tournament.
So I say tournament because I'm from the Midwest. Like, we always talk about a tournament, but because I work with Ben Raza as well, like we do a lot of the golf stuff together, I've been more inclined to hearing tournament. I think that's like a New Jersey East Coast thing is what I'm getting. Because we say tournament in the Midwest, you say tournament, it sounds like out east.
Do you, for abbreviation, do you say tourney or tourney?
So I say tourney.
Okay. Yeah, there's an O in the word. That's why I say it that way.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm also, an incestual being that, is just a dum-dum. So, that's what happens in South Dakota. How else do you have kids? You just, recreate with your cousin. Yeah. And then there's me. I pop out.
No argument for me at all. Devin Davis.
Making fun of myself.
favorite sub 5K plays not at center. All right, so favorite sub 5K plays, but they cannot be centers. Victor Oladipo.
Mm-hmm. You got to say Bones Highland if you think Jamal Murray's going to sit.
Well, I don't think Jamal Murray is going to sit. I think he could sit.
Oh, okay. So I can't play Kessler. I can't play Duren because, you won't let me have Duren. Nobody? Can the answer be nobody?
If we're just talking points per dollar, Damian Lee.
He's 4,300. He's fine. That's good. He started last night. Do you get the impression Phoenix could just do something stupid? Like it helps that Okogie's out. So I will say, I think it's 99% certainty we get the identical starting lineup to last night.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, maybe they go. Yeah, I think it's probably going to be the same lineup as yesterday. And even if it isn't, it's not going to be that hard to make swaps. So for me right now, I'm going to say Damian Lee.
Like something stupid like Ish Wainwright or Landry Shamet starting, that would just be tilting. But I got to imagine same five.
Are you playing Wainwright at all today?
I thought about it because, again, I'm looking at 3K and I'm looking at trying to take shots on something that would just be really, really off the board. I think yesterday would have been more of the time to do. Well, not really, because you had Okogie. Like, I'm just looking at the minutes rotation. It's a back-to-back. I think people might be overreacting a little bit where, Damian Lee, he started yesterday. Now he's automatically going to play, 38 minutes last night. I think it's very possible that Saric plays more than you would think, Ish Wainwright, but because of Miami, I don't think it's good enough. I think if this slate had started an hour ago with the news that we had then before Jimmy Butler got ruled out, I think it would have been pretty appealing to get to some of these guys and really, really play some thin stuff. And then also Kristaps Porzingis on the other side, because now we have Gafford, a cheapie that's just locked in there. But with Gafford and Oladipo, I don't really find a need to try to make these things. If I do it, I'll probably just do it on like a showdown or a late slate.
Yeah, so I am getting exposure to Wainwright, but only on DraftKings, not on FanDuel. So FanDuel, he's $3,500 on FanDuel. He's only a small forward eligibility. So a little bit harder to fit him in there. But I think that he's somebody who's live to at least have a decent value game. And right now, if you look at him on DraftKings, he's only projected for 4% ownership. That to me just seems like a good way. Well, yeah, go ahead.
The main reason we need to play Ish Wainwright, Jordan Klein. Who were you feeding red vines courtside at the Clippers game?
First of all, don't phrase it like that.
You were feeding him red vines underneath. Dead serious. This is a true story.
It's true.
I take Jordan Klein to the Clippers game. We're sitting behind the Phoenix bench, and they're just murdering the Clippers earlier on in the season. And we get free candy like where we're at there. So we ordered free drinks, free candy, and whatever else. And Jordan Klein got this big box of red vines. And during a timeout, he's sitting there or whatever, and we start giving him red vines. And then he's like, I'll take another. And he kind of like dabs his fingers together. And during the game, as it's going on, he's cheering, doing whatever else. Jordan Klein is feeding the man probably 4 or 5 red vines. It was beautiful stuff.
So you're saying his diet isn't great?
His diet, probably not ideal, but also he was out and he was hitting on our friend the entire game. I would too. He's,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think
man.
Jordan's a very, very attractive man. And if he fed me
See
red
what you
vines,
did there.
yeah, maybe I consider that as well. But here's why I'm getting to Ish Wainwright on DraftKings, not on FanDuel. Like I said, the 3,500 price tag versus 3K on DK makes a big difference. But the other thing too is he's just a value play that I could see a path to upside for. Like you said, tail end of a back-to-back. And there are a lot of other fairly chalky players I like today. I like Gafford. I like Nikola Jokic. And actually, Jordan, can you pull up the ownership page right now? Because I think a lot of the guys that are picking up a lot of ownership today, it's justified, right? I think a lot of the players that are popular, it is for good reason. And I try to look like, all right, how am I going to differentiate some of my lineups? Because Gafford is a player I want to get to. Nikola Jokic is a player I want to get to. Oladipo is a player I want to get to. And I think the player that the field just isn't getting to enough that I could make a case for some upside for is Wainwright, and he makes it easier for me to fit Jokic into lineup. So
look at that.
I'm
well, I like we were thinking the same thing because I was looking for the guy and I don't know. It's a back-to-back. And I always think people think, oh, what happened last night is going to happen tonight. And that's just a broken way of thinking about it. And again, anybody who gets fed red vines from Jordan Klein, you gotta just jam them. You just gotta jam them.
All right. So
why are you so embarrassed of that story? It's a thing that you did. Admit it.
Yeah. He didn't even say what happened after the game, Jordan. He just told this part.
Yeah.
It's the phrasing.
Didn't tell you about. So
You
what?
you can do a better job on the phrasing of feeding someone, you know.
No, you fed him. He went.
Yeah. What would you say? What would you say happened, Jordan?
Yeah. I didn't tell him about 4 a.m. with him after.
Yeah.
He's a good looking man. It's fine.
I would say
love is love.
handing
He's an
him
athlete. I know that's your type.
handing him candy. That sounds weird too. I don't know how to
Yeah,
say
you're
it.
trying to lure him in. I get it. It's part of the playbook.
Dude, bro, chill, fuck. DVCF.
He's trying to explain to Ish Wainwright what dude, bro, chill is. Some more questions in our Discord channel. This one is from Bloopy. Levine and I had the Vine on my mind. Levine and Shamet or Jamal Murray and Damian Lee for FanDuel. I do prefer Murray and Lee of those two. And then obviously if Murray isn't playing, you're going to be swapping off them afterwards. But Levine and Shamet or Murray and Damian Lee.
The first one.
Okay. So
Get different.
Eric going with Levine and Shamet. Grim wants to know Duncan Robinson and Patrick Williams or Shamet and Jovic or Highsmith. Boy, you are really scraping the barrel here.
Did you say Patrick Williams? No, thank
Duncan
you.
Robinson and Patrick Williams or Shamet and Jovic / Highsmith.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is what is he must be playing a contest that is like a 20,000 salary cap. Like they just lowered it for him.
Oh man, you understand you don't have to play both of them in either of those combinations. So maybe don't think about Patrick Williams too. Is that I'm still just shocked that we haven't projected double-digit ownership at this point in time. Are people aware that you don't have to do this to yourself?
I mean, if those are going to be the people we have to choose from, I'm going to say Shamet and Jovic, but the pickings are slim there.
Hey, Thaddeus Brown, I hate you too. Shut up. How about that?
What was this about?
Oh, you just said I hate Eric, and I just told him I hate you too. I don't know you. I'm not even going to time you out because you don't deserve it. Goodbye.
Yeah, whoever that guy was, I like him. He makes some good points.
Oh,
Jets
cool.
World.
Yeah.
Are there any priorities from the first game tonight? Hey, he's talking about DraftKings setting his lineup right now. Any priorities from the first game?
No, but I want to play a little bit of both of the centers in this one, Kessler and Duran. Mike Conley makes sense at 5,300. I think with Oladipo's existence, you don't really have to do it as much now. But if you got there, that'd be awesome. My boy Bojan, 6,400. I don't know why his price went down for a 5-gamer here because he's more in play in this kind of a situation. But yeah, nobody that's a priority, not a single person.
Yeah, because I know also because, we get a lot of the questions from the same people and you kind of get a sense for what it is, what they do, how they play. And I know Jets World just playing one high dollar single entry lineup. And with that being the case, I'm not going to say there's anybody from that first game that you really need to be playing. So
same. You want to get tournament exposure with multiple, but yeah, with one lineup, I would just wait.
Next question we have in here is from Sniffs1234. If Murray is out, what about Bones? Yeah, Bones Highland would look a lot better. Jokic would look better. Ish Wainwright, or not Ish Wainwright. I was thinking Ish Smith, and we were talking about Ish Wainwright before. But yeah, Bones Highland and Jokic are the two players that would benefit the most if Murray doesn't play.
Yep, pretty obvious, yes.
And then the next question we have here from Josh111. Do you have any well-projected lineups with both Lee and Shamet on FanDuel? I'm sure I do. Let me sort my lineups.
I got to figure this out. We've got 7 minutes? I've got 7 minutes. All right. That'll be fine.
Yeah, that's Josh. You could certainly play Damian Lee and Landry Shamet in the same lineup today. It's 5-game slate.
Yeah. And also think about how thin those wings are and the guards are and the entire backcourt is. I mean, is Chris Paul going to automatically just play a bajillion minutes here in this spot? He only had to play 32 last night, so I guess he's fine. But Aiden, 26 minutes, pretty locked in at center. Nobody's trying to make Bismack Biyombo a thing. As far as the wings go, I mean, last night, Torrey Craig played awesome, but he's now up to 5,600. I don't really want to be doing that. In terms of where they're priced, they went up a little bit. But yeah, Lee and Shamet, 43, 4,400. I think that they're both well within the range of playable.
All right, some more super chats. That a few that came in, some questions in Discord chat. So Brian C. Got a stinky backside? Use your hand. Top cheap center, Daniel Gafford.
Yes.
And thank you
what
for
else
the
am I
advice.
supposed
I
to say?
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Shane
I
Daly.
didn't know that before.
You didn't. Shane Daly, herpes and Santa, once a year show ups we love. But if you've got herpes, it's only showing up once a year. Good for you. $4,800 at DK left at center, Dern or Gafford. I prefer Gafford to Dern.
By a lot. Yeah.
The next one is from Corey Bomber, Kuzma and Gafford, or Lee and Bam on DK. Kuzma and Gafford.
Kuzma Gafford. Yeah, I'm good. That's the obvious side, and I want that. I have tons of both. Can you believe this Kuzma ownership still 10%? Are we serious on this?
I think for FanDuel, it's probably going to be a little bit higher than what it's projected at. But there's a lot of good players to get to on DraftKings.
I suppose, but like Kuzma has to go near the top, and he's at 10%. He's lower owned than Julius Randle for 500 less. I get it, but yeah, this is just like I'm gonna burn and die with Kuzma. Which, I mean, if this was 3 years ago, I wouldn't feel good about saying something like that. But this is current Kyle Kuzma, and he seems to be pretty good at basketball, so I'm gonna do that.
We're getting a lot of people asking us about Haywood Highsmith right now. Jaw1224 asked, is Highsmith cash viable? The process message said thoughts on Highsmith. If you guys have listened to me talk about Haywood Highsmith on other slates where Haywood Highsmith could potentially be viable, he's not somebody I like.
Okay, I get to him, but he is not cash viable. He's 3,300. If like as a last piece in, if you have 4 minutes and you absolutely can't do anything else, I'd be okay with it. But I would try to find anything that got you a little bit up in price. You shouldn't have to be doing that today. You just shouldn't.
First of all, for cash, no. For tournaments, I'd rather play Ishwain, right?
Yeah.
So we've got Highsmith. Currently, and especially this, I think they should project very similarly. And Highsmith is picking up 3x the ownership of Ishwain, right? Highsmith sucks. As a fantasy producer, he's been absolute dog shit this year. He had
he's a good person.
He had the one game that was decent, but that was when literally the entire team was out. The other spots, the last time that he was popular, there was a handful of guys out for the Heat, not quite the entire team. He ended up being, I don't know, what was it, like 35% owned in the $15 something on DraftKings. He scores like 0.6 fantasy points per minute. He's a bad fantasy producer. Not somebody that I've really liked to get to at all this year, even a lot of the spots where he's been popular. The next question that we have here is from Lippy. He wants to know Ja Morant over or under 1.5 threes. If I have to take a side, I would say the over, but pretty fair line there.
Pretty fair line.
No more super chats to get to. How are you doing on your lineups, Eric?
I'm just uploading them now. I just sorted and got everything done the way I wanted it to, and we are pasting, and we are good to go.
The next question we have here is from Josh again, Josh111. Dern and Laurie or Gafford and DeRozan for FanDuel? I prefer Gafford and DeRozan.
Same.
Make sure that there's no super chats that I missed on. Pretty sure we hit on all of them, and I don't see anybody saying I missed their super chat. Just doing my due diligence here. Jordan, if I did miss any, send it to me in Discord, but I mean in Slack, but I think we've gotten on all of them. And then as far as Discord questions go, we have, here we go. One more. Sorry. From SMK Joker. How much exposure to Bruce Brown if Murray plays on FanDuel? So if Murray ends up playing, I still think Bruce Brown is playable, but obviously a much better option without Murray. But right now I'm around 20% Bruce Brown on FanDuel across 150 FanDuel lineups, and that is currently with Jamal Murray in for me. But one of the other benefits of getting some exposure to Bruce Brown also is just if Murray does happen to get ruled out, you've already got Bruce Brown in there. So Bruce Brown to me, he's about appropriately owned, projected for, 23% ownership, Bruce Brown. Oh, no, down to, he's 17 on DraftKings, and he is at 20 on FanDuel. So I'm almost right at the field exactly on Bruce Brown on FanDuel. I think it's about appropriate.
Cool. Bruce Brown. Yeah. I mean, I would want to get to a lot of him. I think Jamal Murray is playing. That's the only thing I have that I'm.
Sam Cassell Dance saying lineup builder is giving him a 90% value score for a lineup only projected for 261. So something I'll say is like, I don't have lineups that are projected for like crazy high amounts of fantasy points today. It's not a slate where I have lineups that are projected for like north of 300 fantasy points. You know, Gafford's a good value play, but it's relative to the other options. It's not like he's a 3K guy that we're projecting for 35 fantasy points. So, I mean, for me personally, my highest projected lineup on DraftKings is 278. What is it for you? Do you know?
I'll pull it up here. My top projected is, let me take randomness off quick. 0. There we go. And I go to one lineup, calculate. I have 292.
Okay. So you just have players that are projected higher.
I have a couple guys that I have projected higher. I mean, I have Gafford for more than we have at the site. I have John Morant for more than we have at the site because I'm getting Morant, Jokic, Paul in my optimal, which I don't think is what was coming up for Stokastic. Let me just go to Stokastic projections. Number 1 is 280.5. So yeah, I have things projected just a tiny bit higher.
We just got the Heat starting lineup, by the way. Hero, Oladipo, Strus, Highsmith, Adebayo. We're going to hit on that in a second. But first, super chat from Shane Daly, who's saying bet under Toledo tonight. Rain, good luck, everyone. I don't even know what. I assume that's football, Toledo?
That would be it.
Yeah, it could be outdoor basketball. Who's to say? So let's talk about the Miami Heat starting lineup. So we're at lock. Don't go anywhere, guys. But if you do happen to be leaving us, I'm sorry. But like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. For the next 29 minutes, Eric and I are going to be hanging out. We're going to be breaking down the slate. Anything that breaks in terms of lineup news, which just ended up happening. Any sort of unforeseen late scratches. We're going to talk about some of our favorite bets. But we just got this Heat starting lineup. Haywood Highsmith, Victor Oladipo. What do you make of this lineup?
Yeah, Oladipo is going to shoot through the roof, but it's almost like it doesn't matter. It's kind of a bummer. I was hoping that he wouldn't be starting and people might hit eject, but now you just play him. I don't know what else to do. You just play him. It's a bummer.
Were you about to cry there?
No, no, I got something stuck in my throat as I was talking, and you know, it is what it is. It's like Jordan Klein after a night with Ish Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Little red vine, little bit of.
You didn't like it,
you know? Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, it's all right.
Well, it does. He actually had an Ish threesome, but he doesn't like to tell people that.
What happens in Denver stays in Denver.
It's altitude.
It's altitude, baby. Makes it taste different. It's nice to be on the other end of this, making fun of somebody. You know, I don't know what this is like. I get to make fun of somebody. This is great. I'm having fun.
Jordan's just defenseless right now.
Just sit there and sit. No, I can't even do that. You've heard that as well from Mr. Ishwain, right?
That's what he said. That's what he
still.
Said. All right. Haywood Highsmith is starting. Victor Oladipo is starting. How does this impact any of the exposures that we have right now?
You're going to have Oladipo go through the roof. And I'm assuming when I take the boom bust tool and I copy paste it over, I might get a little bit less of him than I was getting before. Because I don't know. It's just one of those things where like he's going to be crazy popular now. And this isn't like a Nas Reed situation yesterday where I wanted to get to like near 100%. I think I ended up with like 94, 95% of him when it was all said and done by lock of that game. But he's a good fantasy producer when he's on the floor. There's no Jimmy Butler and he's starting at sub 5K. It's pretty hard to say that you shouldn't have a lot of him. It's just a question of like, what does that ownership get to? I think it's stuff like the $4. I'll just play him 100%. I think in the $15, I might have to have a conversation with myself what I want to do, but I'll figure it out here in the next 10 minutes.
And then the other thing too, because I was just shitting on Haywood Highsmith. And to be clear, I still don't like him, but he's so cheap and he's starting that I didn't have him in any lineups before. I'll probably have at least some exposure to him now.
Yeah.
I don't like Haywood Highsmith, but he's starting at $3,300 on a 5-game slate. I'm
pretty hard not to like.
I mean, how much exposure do you envision yourself getting to Haywood Highsmith?
More than before. Again, it's going to depend on what the ownership gets up to here in the next 20 minutes. It happened like right at lock. Like it happened right at lock that I think enough people are still going to react and be able to get to a lot of him. If you have a 30% Haywood Highsmith, wouldn't you just want to get to some of those 4K Suns guys and live with the result? Wouldn't you just kind of wait? Maybe Jamal Murray does sit, have some late swap ability there. It feels like playing what could be a 60% Victor Oladipo in the $15 or a 55% Oladipo, and then playing Daniel Gafford and then playing like a lot of these guys on a 5-gamer here. I want to probably find ways to get away from Highsmith if he's going to be a 30% piece. If he ends up like 15 or 20, you've made a mistake not playing a lot of him probably, but like it's the same way that I feel about Moses Moody starting. Just not a good fantasy producer. And your boy Haywood Highsmith, not a good fantasy producer. Do we really have to go after a guy who's a 0.64 fantasy point per minute guy who's going to be the 5th option every time he is on a basketball floor? I don't think so. He had one start, played 42 minutes when they had nobody there. But it's been a hot second, and he has had moments where he's played well, but like he's got such a wide range of outcomes that I'm more inclined to probably hit eject on him now.
Well, the good news is I'm playing more on FanDuel than I am on DraftKings today, and he's
you.
$4,400 on FanDuel. Where I really
good.
don't have to consider him all that much.
That must feel very nice for you.
So yeah, I mean, I had 0% of him on DraftKings before, and he's going to be in lineups for me now. I guess the question here is, if you had to play one of Highsmith or Moody, which would it be? If somebody had a gun to your head and said, I need to know who to play, Moody or Highsmith. I need to save some money. Need to play Nikola Jokic.
Highsmith.
Need to afford red vines.
Highsmith.
Yeah.
I think pretty automatically.
I'm inclined to agree.
It just is what it is. Is what it is.
Right. Change those and upload them. We got a question from Swaz in our Discord channel here. He wants to know, how sure are we that Gafford starts? Last time in this scenario was dusty Taj Gibbers. Yeah, I'm fairly confident that Gibson's going to start again.
I'm fairly confident too. I'm not 100%. I would say I'm 75-25. No, I'm probably like 90-10. I would say I'm much more confident that Taj Gibson still starts, but that makes me want Gafford a lot still.
Yeah, so something that we should add here also, Swaz, is when Eric and I were talking about Gafford for a lot of the show, we've been assuming the entire time that he is not going to start.
Yes. And we very much, I mean, if he does start, you feel really good about having literally about 100% of him. If he doesn't, you're happy because people won't play him more. There's probably a little bit of comfortability for a lot of top players today, guys playing 150, where it's like, oh, I saw exactly what happened last game with Taj Gibson, and maybe he can play 22 or something. But regardless, he's the better fantasy point per minute guy by a landslide over Taj. He's the better basketball player by a landslide over Taj. Taj, at this point in time, is not an NBA caliber basketball player. He is filling minutes on a team that's decrepit at the center position with no Rui Hachimura, a couple of other guys that haven't panned out at the center position for him. Anthony Gill, not really a thing, power forward kind of guy. But I feel pretty good about Daniel Gafford being the best point per dollar play, even with Oladipo starting. Maybe not on FanDuel. On FanDuel, Oladipo is just a smash.
Yeah, absolutely. So Oladipo, rerunning my lineups right now. He was my most rostered player before. That's still going to be the case. We've got a question here from Sir George Peelsworth. Sir George wants to know Kuminga or Highsmith for a FanDuel single entry. I prefer Kuminga to Highsmith.
Oh, look at that. Cum bucket. Also something that no, I'm just kidding.
That's actually, believe it or not, that's the rumor is that's actually what Ish Wainwright has Jordan Klein saved as in his phone.
He shoots, he scores.
Yeah. Jordan just stunned in the background. He's not usually the target of these shots.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh man, I feel like the big man. I feel this is the power that I feel. This is what Jordan must feel every day, making fun of Eric. Ooh, I'm gonna hit that BetMGM ad where Eric goes.
Yeah, actually, let's do it. Let's hit that BetMGM ad and let's. Yeah.
That was not me giving permission.
You queued it up perfectly. Show the
biscuit.
people the BetMGM ad so people could see how wonderful Eric looks on it, because we're about to talk some sports betting here, because only one game is locked. There's not that often we do these smaller slates, Eric, where we actually have games to talk about. Normally what happens is the game's lock, and I'm trying to force in sports betting talk because there's only one game left to talk about because all the games we've got 4 games to talk about. So we've got Bulls, Heat, we've got Warriors, Knicks, Wizards, Suns, Grizzlies, Nuggets. So there's still some betting value to be had. But the best betting value you're going to find is by signing up at BetMGM with that wonderful graphic that's on screen. You click on the link we have below or in the YouTube chat where the link is about to be thrown in, and that is going to get you a risk-free bet up to $1,000 and 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. All you have to do for those 2 free months, minimum $10 deposit. You place a bet once it settles, 2 free months of everything we have behind the paywall. Eric, do you have any bets that are really standing out to you today?
I hate you.
That's not a bet.
I don't.
I mean,
like
it's
you.
a lock, but
What am I supposed to do? I just every day. I think I have the upper hand. I think I'm finally going to be the one who gets to make jokes for a full 90 minutes. And no, it somehow in the last 20 minutes turns into a targeted attack on me as if I'm some politician. Whatever. I do.
You
have some
brought it
bets
on
that I
yourself
like
too.
today.
You said, what about you brought up the graphic. If you hadn't brought up the graphic, we probably wouldn't have even been talking about it. Do you like bets for today though?
I do. So earlier last night, it was 24.5 or 23.5 was the number on RJ Barrett. Let me find 23.5 that it was. It's now down to 22.5. I like the under on that. The guy is shooting 30% from 3. He does have these spots where he plays 40 minutes, but he's the third option on the offense. Some of these props got nuked on the Knicks side as a result of playing Golden State, who play at the fastest pace in the league, leading the league in possessions per 48 minutes. So yeah, Golden State's going to nuke props for the other side. It's going to look strange, but I took a couple unders. The other one I like, Julius Randle under 24.5 points. He's a very popular piece for DFS, less so now that some other positions have pulled away from it, some of the ownership, but he's still almost around 20%. He'll be popular going up against Golden State here. I do think the under of 24.5 projects out pretty well for me. Best number for that over on FanDuel. I like the over of 44.5 points plus rebounds plus assists for John Morant. I like the Bradley Beal one, obviously, especially if you can get it as a taco because you were lazy, like Jordan Klein at 20.5. That's good
Sharp,
stuff on
not
Prize
lazy,
Picks.
Sharp.
Just so lazy. Just upset.
Listen, so many of the tools on our site, especially as we're delving into sports betting, Eric, is about finding the
Don't
best
encourage
number
him.
possible.
Don't encourage him.
Which is why what Jordan did was so sharp because he took the 20.5. Because I know what Eric, I know what Jordan was thinking. He was thinking, I know that Eric says that 23.5 is a good bet, but I know I could find a better number elsewhere. He bided his time. He got the better number. That's odd shopping at its finest. You seem to disagree.
Not thrilled.
We've got some Victor Oladipo props, by the way. What do you make of some of these? Over under 4.5
Oh my God.
assists.
Seriously? Jordan. God.
Good point. Andrew Jennison is saying, honestly, why isn't Jordan the one doing betting videos? Good point. And to be honest, I think
Jordan Klein refuses to work past 4 p.m.
Yeah. But I think Jordan Klein's leans, likes, and locks sounds a lot better than Lindy's leans. And I mean, if you just think about it, like it rolls off the tongue. It sounds really good.
I hate you so much.
I mean, just think about the alliteration, the everything. Jordan Klein's leans, likes, and locks. You get a picture of, and you know what you could even do? You get a picture of Ish Wainwright on the front and just go, and then you add it's Jordan Klein's licks, leans, likes, and locks. I'm telling you, there's a lot of good things you could do if we push everything to Jordan.
I need a vine that's top of the line. That's what Jordan Klein has.
Anyway, I
like
really
that
do
one.
like this Victor Oladipo prop, by the way.
Okay, which one is it?
Over 4.5 assists.
Yeah, it seems good.
Anything else that stand out to you from a betting angle?
No, that's it. You're fine.
Wait, wait, this is weird. Your words aren't matching up to your mouth now.
Why?
Oh, but no, I'm not even messing around this time. Jordan, was it me or was there like a little bit of lag there where his words weren't matching?
I was recrunching my hockey lineups.
You're playing hockey today too?
I did.
Oh my God. There is something wrong with you.
Not much, just a little. Just enough to scratch the itch. Wanted to get back into it.
We get questions in the description.
Bullion on the
Playing
board.
Hockey too.
Bullion on the board.
T. Lee wants to know if we could go over some of our core plays for today. So I am just re-uploading my lineups right now. I'm playing on both FanDuel and DraftKings today. Eric, are you playing on
Just
FanDuel?
DK. Just DK.
All right.
Yeah.
So you
Multiple
could do
sports,
it.
just DK.
All right. So you do it for DK. I'll do it for FanDuel, but let me just upload this one latest version.
That's what I'm going to do too.
Of my lineup so that I have this all set.
Oh my God. Hold up. I can't, something happened to my Duncan Robinson. You ever go in and as you're like manually adjusting things, you hit like an extra 3 and then all of a sudden somebody gets 100% in your lineups that you just don't even want any of? That would be Duncan Robinson a second ago.
I put a decimal in the wrong spot where it's like, oh, look, this lineup's projected to score 1,000 fantasy points now. And then you
that would be good.
Yeah, it would be very good. And then you realize it's because that there's some random guy who's projected for 100 fantasy points instead of 10, which shouldn't have been the case.
Yeah, we don't want that. Let me refresh this one time and get a new one going. Eric is going to channel all this anger when he's locked in on that whispering eye. What is that? What is that? I don't understand that. What? I want to get the jokes. I want to be in on the jokes, even if they're of me. I make fun of myself. It's kind of my whole MO.
Utah Jazz up to a 10-8 lead over the Detroit Pistons. Pretty spread scoring, though. If we look at Utah, every single player in the starting lineup has made a bucket right now, other than Mike Conley. So 2 for Clarkson, 2 for Walker Kessler, 3 for Vanderbilt, 3 for Markkanen. And then on the Pistons side of the game, Jaden Ivey has 3 points, a rebound, and an assist. So he's off to a hot start, but really spread scoring. So it's 10-8. No players made multiple buckets yet. He's talking about a butthole, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool.
I assume anyway. If not, then I've just.
Why do we have Tyler Hero under 20%? Do we have? Is that real? We're gonna have Tyler Hero under 25%. It might just be 8,800. There's sticker shock there for people, but like, I don't care.
I think $8,800 is not a price tag that would make me think that he should be like 30% owned or anything.
Okay, I will say I'm getting to a lot more Aaron Gordon than I ever anticipated in 50 million years.
Well, you spent a lot of time thinking about Aaron Gordon then.
I guess maybe just, he's my ish Wayne, right?
Let me know when. Did he win that dunk contest, by the way?
Who?
Aaron Gordon. Should he have won the dunk contest?
Oh, absolutely. And obviously it was Zach LaVine was a Timberwolf at the time, but even in my biased eyes where I wanted my Timberwolf to win the dunk contest, Aaron Gordon should have won it. Dude went underneath his legs over a car. They should have just ended the contest after that.
Just making sure we didn't get any super chats. Let me know when you're ready to go over most exposed.
Yeah, 1 second, just so that I don't have this guy Anthony Lamb showing up in lineups. That would be good. Did
I play any Anthony Lamb? I think the answer is no.
I had 4% of him. I'm just kind of getting the riffraff off of my.
I do have 2%
screen.
of Anthony Lamb on fan.
Look at that. See, you're a damn dirty liar. All right, done. Got it.
All right. Most rostered players, position by position. Eric, start us off with Eric's going to be hitting up DraftKings. I'm going to be doing it for FanDuel. So, Eric, DraftKings, who are your most rostered players that are point guard eligible?
Yeah, Oladipo, I'm going to be just playing the chalk. It feels so disgusting, but I'm doing it. Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero, Jalen Brunson.
For me at point guard, I'm trying to figure out how I want to separate some of these guys because some of them are going to be, shooting guard as well.
Same here.
Oladipo is my most rostered player on both FanDuel and DraftKings. So for me, makes sense that he's in there at point guard for me. And then Chris Paul and Jalen Brunson as well as my most rostered point guards for FanDuel purposes. Shooting guard, Eric, hit me with them.
Oladipo, Hero, so same 1-2. So we get further down. Damian Lee, Bradley Beal.
So for FanDuel, by the way, big price difference on Tyler Hero FanDuel compared to DraftKings, only $8,200 on FanDuel. My most rostered shooting guards, once again, Victor Oladipo, but then Damian Lee and Tyler Hero.
Bogdanovich for 3, up to 5.
There you go. Your guy.
My guy. I just wanted to point that out. Small forward, Damian Lee, Landry Shamet, and then 15%. So, it's just a lot of Damian Lee. And then Haywood Highsmith. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it.
Kyle Kuzma, totally unavoidable on FanDuel. Tyler Hero as well. And then Zach LaVine also has small forward eligibility. over on FanDuel. And as far as Levine goes, also really underpriced on FanDuel, $7,200, pretty cheap price tag there. The power forward position, Eric, who do you got there?
Kuzma, Gordon, Kuminga.
Bam Adebayo, Kyle Kuzma as well, Julius Randle, and then Torrey Craig, also somebody who's a popular play that can't say I feel totally comfortable with over on FanDuel, but at the same time too, there's just only so many bodies that the Suns have active, and I do think there's a little bit of value there. But for me, definitely as far as payups go, Kuzma, Adebayo, Randle, power forwards, I do really like quite a bit. Center position, Daniel Gafford, and who else, Eric?
100% Gafford. I have 100%. I doubt that changes by the end of the night. Nikola Jokic did end up number 2, but just barely over Bam Adebayo.
Gafford, Ayton, and Jokic. Those are the 3 centers for me.
I think what might be really helpful to people too is like, who's the one guy you're surprised that you're getting to at every lineup spot? Like at point guard, I am surprised how much Jaden Ivey I ended up getting to. I got 12% of him there. And I'm also surprised that I ended up getting to Chris Paul around 26%, because Chris Paul on a back-to-back here, I thought I diminished him enough, but at 8,300, he's still popping up a lot for me.
I mean, I'm getting to a lot of Chris Paul. That does not surprise me at all. Devin Booker's out.
Okay.
Player that surprised me.
Yeah, I think that's like a fun take on it, where it's like almost like we give our favorite tournament guy that people aren't getting to get a little bit different. Like, I don't know, Quentin Grimes at shooting guard, I'm getting to around 13% of as well. I don't think anybody's playing him on DK today, and I think he's a good play, sub 5K.
Let me look.
Like, he projects out terrible, but he's at 5%, and I'm trying to find ways to get different. He's a dude that I have more than I would expect most people to have.
All right, so for FanDuel, who's a guy that's not really pulling a lot of ownership that I'm getting to more of than the field? What's like a good cutoff range for ownership?
Anything over 5%. It's just like, oh, I don't think people are playing that.
You know, it's like Gafford didn't end up being all that popular on FanDuel. Like
Really?
Gafford's 18% owned, so I'm
play a lot of that.
On FanDuel.
That seems like fun.
Other low-owned guys, and by the way, Jokic isn't all that popular on FanDuel either. 16%.
Jesus. Well, he was 12.5 on FanDuel. Somebody had tweeted that out earlier, and I was like, I wouldn't care. I would find, like, FanDuel, it's always soft enough pricing where if you have a guy like this who projects so much more, like he projects for so much more than John Morant, on DK, I've got them 11 fantasy points apart. That's gigantic. Even on that, like DK, it's a little bit different. Salaries, the way things work out. I wanted to get to more Jokic. I ended up finding a way to get to a little bit more. It's playing some pretty thin value, being Grimes, getting to a little Landry Shamet as well. Not just Damian Lee, who's already popular. Maybe that news from Denver ends up coming our way. And you're right about Jamal Murray. Then I would just be able to get to more Bruce Brown with how much Washington exposure I have. But I would say for the most part, like Jokic on FanDuel, what a jam it would be considering how soft the pricing is. You have 9 lineup spots and nothing is all that difficult to get to.
So here's another thing, Key, because we talked about our lineups, but how about Jordan Klein's now? Because he just texted us in our group chat. He wants to know which player is getting ejected from his lineup today.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. 3 of 4. What am I going to do? It was a slam dunk.
These are the prize picks guys that Jordan's on. He's got Bradley Beal. He's got Kyle Kuzma, Zach LaVine, Nikola Jokic, John Morant, and Lauri Markkanen. Of those guys, who is most likely to get ejected and screw Jordan Klein, Ish Wainwright style? Who's going to
probably? I mean, Nikola Jokic goes back and forth quite a bit with refs, but I think he gets a little bit of the respect bump, whereas Luka is just like outwardly a little bit of a dick to refs and gets teed up at a crazy high clip. Ja's up there, but like Ja, that was the worst ejection ever. He was just going back and forth with a fan. What an overreaction. They should be able to go to New York for a quick second and be like, we override that ejection. They should be able to do that.
If you are a fan who's able to get a player ejected by not doing something, like crazy or overtly racist, you are MVF, most valuable fan. Because that actually has a
Yes.
significant impact on the game. Whoever that fan
Gigantic.
is, that's 12th man in Seattle type stuff. That's
Also,
tremendous.
shout out his dad for doing the FaceTime with them afterwards. Ja apologized, and he did you see the video of that?
No,
Ja's
no.
dad. Oh, you have to. So Ja's dad comes up with the phone and FaceTimes, and it's Ja Morant. He's like, "Hey, my son wanted to apologize for the back and forth and everything else." And the fans like wave, and the dad like shakes their hand and leaves. Like his dad might be the coolest dude. He is living the life. Cool.
Yeah, I see it. I have that queued up. Vince 1979 Gator. Adams or Looney today? Adams or Looney?
I would say Adams simply because he'll have to be on the floor quite a bit, you would think, with Jokic out there, maybe a little bit more than normal. But I've got him projected for 27 Looney. Let's see.
I have Adams projected for half a fantasy point more. There's very little separating them. And if I'm not mistaken, Vince typically plays on FanDuel.
Okay. Well, then take the extra swap ability. Like take Adams where you can then have more maneuverability at the same ownership.
Yeah, I prefer Adams. Neither of them are real. And also, so another thing also, Adams is also quite a bit less popular, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Looney is 13% on FanDuel and Adams is 2%. So with that in mind, Steven Adams as well. I don't really love either of them, though.
Didn't say I loved him. Did not say that.
Big Dream is saying that he's 85% Chris Paul today and only 3% Morant on a FanDuel GPP. Is that too out of whack? So I have less Chris Paul than you do, and I have more Morant than you do. But at the same time, I have way more exposure to Chris Paul than I do to Ja Morant. So we've got Morant is here. I mean, here's just the big difference. Morant is 10-7 on FanDuel, and Chris Paul is $8,100. $8,100 way too cheap for Chris Paul in this spot with Devin Booker out. So I would say that the split that you have is probably a little aggressive. 85% Chris Paul to only 3% Morant. I'm about 50% Paul and 12% Morant, but I don't have an issue with you having a lot more Paul than Morant.
I'm with it.
And also, it depends how many lineups you're playing, right? If you're playing
Correct.
20 lineups and Chris Paul's in 17 of them, that's not the end of the world for this league.
Look, the other thing you got to think about, and this is something that I've been doing more and more and more with late swap and trying to find like the optimal way of doing things. If you hit on some cheap value, like if Haywood Highsmith is just smashing in your lineup, if Grimes, somebody who's smashing for my lineup or everything else, I'm going to find paths to be able to spend that money in a way where I'm getting to some of the studs. Like you should then be playing either like the most popular, you could just play the popular route and just play highest projected, or like if specifically lineups that only have like one or two pieces and they're just value pieces that smash, you should feel really good about your lineups trying to get to Jokic and trying to get to Morant. Just look at the highest projected dudes and get to some of them. Like it's because you're probably in a spot where your lineups are kind of through the mid-range and everything else. There's going to be good value that could show up on the Denver side, value that already showed up with Gafford. Like you're going to just want to get to Morant and Jokic combos. So just be reacting to your lineups constantly for how the value is doing.
So Malcolm Revamp left us a super chat and he's asked us, what are the over, under, and totals for the NBA game? So I'm not sure if you're asking what are the totals for the game tonight, or what is it? What do they mean? So, and sorry if this seems basic, like I don't mean to offend you, but I'm not exactly sure what you mean by the question. But what are the over, under, and total? It's the amount of points that are expected to be scored in the game, if that is what you mean. If you're meaning what are the totals for today's games, the Warriors Knicks game 220.5, the Bulls Heat game 221.5, Wizards Suns is 223.5, very similar for all those games. And then the one that we have left, which is just way higher than all the other games, Nuggets Grizzlies 236.5. So that is a game that is expected to feature a lot of points. Now, if you're using that as a baseline to build some of your DFS lineups, I should mention that it's already included in all our projections. Right? Any projections you're looking at, there's going to be a part of it that's coming from some of those totals in games. And that is going to be included in projections in terms of how many possessions are expected to be scored in games. So make sure you're not double counting it, right?
Yes.
You don't want to be playing your DFS lineups and be like, oh, this player projects well, and then I'm just going to anticipate 5 more fantasy points because he's in an up-pace game. It's already included in. Anything that you would add to that, Eric?
Nope, that was perfectly well said. Pace is basically just a number that's allocated to the number of possessions that are played in the game per 48 minutes. And Golden State 1, Lakers 2, OKC 3. That's readily available on NBA.com, at dunks3.com, wherever your preference is. But that's going to be how pace is generally put together. But that's combined with offensive rating, defensive ratings. Everything is being put together. And when they put projections for the players together, all of that is being accounted for. As Greg said, don't double count it. If you're just looking for what the flat out totals in the games are, we've got 221.5 coming up here, Chicago and Miami, 220.5 Golden State, New York, 223.5 Washington, Phoenix, Memphis and Denver, 236.5. Easiest way to find that, go to Odd Shopper, go to the tools page and go to compare NBA bets.
And do we have any more questions? No more super chats. That is going to do it for us today, guys. For everybody stuck around and hung out with Eric and I and Jordan Klein for the last 90 minutes, we appreciate you. Before you leave, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck tonight, and I hope that you guys also get to have a magical night with Ish Wainwright.